And now, here's Brendan.
Yeah, a bit American there. There you go. It's Saturday, 1st of November 2025. I'm back from Italy. It's Who Night News with a sense for your panel, all very live and well and rested and champing to go with our talking sense, making sense, and all the Who nonsense show. Welcome aboard, friends and newcomers alike. Anything happening while I was away with Jamie and the Who Pets in Italy? Anything by any chance? Whatever it was, I tell you what, we've got it covered here. Just like we also have some new shows coming up on the missing episodes and that our building anticipation of what's going on with Film is Fabulous, so look out for those. The newcomers might not know, I used to be a teacher. Sorry, I'm just going to go on a rant. I used to be a teacher, Brendan Noble, former English teacher. Organised and structured as usual. This is the rundown for tonight's show. Is there much there to talk about? So let's get Joe and Christian on board. My tried and tested tour. There's Christian from Texas. Hiya.
Howdy, good to be here.
Hello. Yeah. And Joe's back as well. Hiya, Joe.
Hi, hello.
So there's not much happened, and I think the show will be over in seconds. Yes, God, there's been plenty, hasn't there? I mean, my God. I mean, where do you start? I mean, I'll start with the source because I've got a few sources, everybody. This is one thing he said to me. One thing communicated to the source is how exhausted and bored everyone is with the name Doctor Who. He's a media producer. He goes to media producer conferences and whatever. Joe knows. And how bored and exhausted, Joe, they're all with Doctor Who.
See, that's really... I mean, it's interesting because why are they bored with it? I mean, did RTD think it was... I mean, we were sold this brand new, exciting package, weren't we? And I guess they were too, and it just fell on its bum. They don't know what to do with it. Nobody seems to know what's going on. But I'd like to know a bit more about, like, why are you so bored with it?
It seemed to me that he was saying that it's the BBC executives, the people inside the BBC are bored and exhausted of all the blather and talk about Doctor Who, Christian.
I would say that they are bored not with Doctor Who, they're bored with failure. I remember 20 years ago, everyone was willing to lay claim to the success of this revived Doctor Who, and they weren't bored with it then, but they're bored with it now. What's changed? The one key element that has changed is that Doctor Who has failed, and they are exhausted with trying to fend off questions about why it failed, which partly has to do with their stewardship, and what they're going to do to fix it when they didn't like the property intrinsically to begin with. So, yeah, they're bored with it, but they're bored with failure, and they don't know how to get out of that.
Well, good to see everybody in our thread and who's watching us live. There's plenty. I've got so many slides of quotation from my sources. But I'll say hello to you all. Zach Whitten, straight up. Let's hope they're bored with RTD2 and Bad Wolf, not the show itself. Well, we've got problems there, haven't we? And there's plenty to say on that one, unfortunately, Zach.
It's a good point because, I mean, BBC are not the ones running about putting in all the hard work. They offloaded that to Bad Wolf, didn't they? So why are they bored if... failure. You nailed it, Christian. Sorry,
Lee Smith, bored of their camp pantomime. Oh, it's got the end of the 80s vibe to it. Oh, yes. So, I'm not going to mess you about. Well, Farsight's going to throw in an early few quid. Thank you very much, Farsight. If they're bored, why employ that idiot again? Oh, Farsight, you've just asked a very obvious question. Oh, yes. Yes, I did ask my source about that, and I'm not going to... don't worry, it's the first cab on the rank, RTD. I'd been told he'd gone. Other streamers have been told he'd gone. And like a bad smell, he's still there. Oh, my God. So I really wanted detail on that. Joe, when you heard that he was going to pen this special, how excited were you?
I'm absolutely speechless. The man's been a proven failure. You just need to have a cursive glance on Twitter to see what the public think of RTD. Even the diehard shells, and we know who they are, who were so far up RTD's backside, they were coming out his gob almost. They were starting to turn him. Why and who thought giving him the Christmas special was a good idea? I mean, could you at least have maybe got Moffat back? That might have made us go, okay, maybe. But RTD, and there's one reason I think that explains it, which I know you might bring up, Brendan. So I'll leave that to you because I think you might have some fabulous reasons why. So yeah.
Oh yes, I mean, while I was on the Amalfi Coast on a lovely, beautiful, sun-kissed boat trip, and then the news landed, and I was texting away. I was in the middle of the blooming sea, and I'm texting away at my sources. So you saw my 3 minute short, but I've also been texting since, and that's why everyone's tuned in tonight. And I understand that, and I'm not going to make you wait, folks. You know me. I'm on it normally. So there was the first little taster. One thing communicated to me, a media producer, is how exhausted and bored everyone within the BBC is of Doctor Who. They just want it to go away. And the second thing he told me, just to get everybody salivating at the mouth, is the BBC might struggle to find another production company, plus everyone in the industry hates Doctor Who. It's seen as really toxic and just not very good anymore. So, Joe, I think we've already got our excuses written. They're like sick notes. They might just need to go back to Bad Wolf because nobody else is going to do it.
Oh, God. That's nonsense. There's plenty of independent production houses out there that would love to get their hands on Doctor Who. You know, it's a sure win if I put myself in their shoes in management, right? I've got this proven IP. We know what worked. We know what failed now. So we can go back to the drawing board. We know it makes phenomenal money with merchandising when it's done right. It can be, I don't know what the sales are like with Doctor Who, but it can be sold worldwide. It's potentially a massive money maker. And it's been proven so if they get it right. So we know what's wrong, we know what's right. Plenty of production houses would really love to get their hands on it. So I don't understand this whole situation, to be honest with you.
I will explain what my source said about the Bad Wolf scenario, the RTD scenario, the future of the series scenario, the Disney situation. There's plenty ahead, everybody in the thread. Do not worry. But Christian, you can see this. You can see already the lazy BBC thinking, well, Bad Wolf know how to make Doctor Who. It hasn't really worked, but they know how to make Doctor Who. So shall we ask them to try again?
Well, this seems to be fitting that bill. The only other idea that I can come up with is that there's a contract in place and they cannot extricate themselves from Bad Wolf or RTD until 2028, if it was a 5-year contract, something like that. So if there's something on the fine print, that means, well, gosh, if we want to try and keep the brand on life support, we've got to wait X number of months until we're finally fully extricated from a contract with these folks. And besides, as Brendan has pointed out, they know how to do Doctor Who. They've got a set. They've done it before. You know, let's not work too hard at it. Let's just throw them a bone and see if they can fix it.
Well, Christian, now we know why they've kept the TARDIS sat in the corner, because they've going, we've got the TARDIS in the corner, you know. We're still here. We've got the TARDIS in the corner, you know. We've kept the space just for you. We've got the TARDIS in the corner, you know. I mean, you can just imagine this cycle of, we're ready when you are. And you've oh dear. So there you go. There's just our salivation points to get you going. So I thought it's time that, although I've been away in Italy, it's time I kind of hyped up my sauce in a different way, since I've now got more than one sauce. So how's about this?
cipher.
The cipher. There you go. Pouring over all the media and listening to the media and then feeding back to us. Isn't that good? Right, there you go. So the cipher. Well, it didn't need much checking to know that this was the news of the week while I was supposed to be enjoying myself. The Hoopettes had to run off the beach and tell me all about it. I had to kind of really race together. They were very excited. The BBC confirms the future of Doctor Who, and notice there are two things going on there. Confirms the future of Doctor Who and a new Christmas special in 2026. And just before I lose my place, thank you, Randy Howell. I thought we flushed that turd out. Call a Dalek plumber. They're all talking about him floating back underneath the U-bend. Now, so two of you have been very kind, so I've got to be very kind back. I'm sorry, you know, manners is what should make us all. So thank you very much. Yes, we're well-mannered as Hoopettes. So, this was the news. Hey, RTD's back. Way, just like a floater. Just like that turd you can't float away. Yes, so there you go. Sorry for all this toilet talk, Joe, but you know, some of us are starting to get a little bit sick of that bad smell over there.
Yeah, I mean, my son said it's like he needs to almost just take out his trash. Maybe that's you know, as you mentioned in your short, they have their reasons for doing it. I mean, to ruin our Christmas day, with our, I mean, it really would ruin another Christmas day to get another crap Who, wouldn't it? I mean, remember when you'd wait all day for it, your belly would be fat with Christmas dinner, feet up, Grandad's managing to stay awake to watch it before he falls asleep from the whiskies, you know? And we've had a few absolute duds. So if they're prepared to ruin another Christmas day by doing this to us, I mean, I'm lost for words.
I think they think we've had a bit to drink on Christmas Day, and we judge lightly. Now just
Even
before
on
Christmas,
even on a leash, RTD on a leash will probably not make a good Christmas special, will it?
no, and as I said in my short, there's going to be oversight, editorial control of him this time. I'm going to come to the RTD item in a second. Not all my sources agree. Oh dear. Now, just before I move on, Toonami, I'm going to push back on you a little bit, Brendan. Yeah, don't push too hard. And team, there's zero defence of what Russell has done, but we wouldn't be talking about Doctor Who today if it wasn't for Russell wanting to write it. Listen, that's the saviour complex. This is, Toonami, don't fall into it. He didn't have to come back again and again. I'm sorry, but when you're out of ideas, you have to value yourself and you have to respect the people asking you and go, I haven't got any more ideas. I'd love to help. I really would. But I've done it once. I'm sure somebody else. And also, you know, ego. I'm sure there's somebody else out there who would grab you by the hand and they'll have ideas and they're not me. I'm out. I respect, it's rare, but I sometimes think people need to be honest when they are out of ideas, because if they love Doctor Who, they don't go back in just for the money payoff.
Yeah, there's plenty of people who would be loving and capable to write and make Doctor Who. There are plenty out there who should be given the chance to. Fresh blood would be the best thing they could do for Doctor Who. People really chomping at the bit, people who love the IP, who value it and who know what to do. There are plenty of production houses out there right now. Plenty. Trust me.
Oh, well, you're going to be disappointed, which is what I'm going to be telling you tonight, Joe. You really are. Unfortunately, because it seems to be the BBC can only look in one or two directions. That is the problem. So, people have been very nice tonight, and I've got to Keeping being polite. Farsight, time to call Dinah Rod. Yes, yeah, true. I'll get the hoop heads on in a minute. Thank you. And Marie UK, I saw your message as well to my short, and I know you're struggling. I don't believe the BBC has got the foresight, vision, or backbone to make RTD reverse the damage he's done in one special. And I think,
Yeah.
Marie, you are probably right.
Good point, Marie.
Yeah. So let me just be polite, and then we will move on with our talk. Oh, Flux, you washed him. Thank you, everybody. It's very nice of you when you do that. It's really nice. It's like a welcome back. Thank you. So I've promised, and I need to deliver. So here we go. RTD. Oh my God. Sorry, I was gonna. I'm teasing you now, and I don't mean to. But I did make another segment of what do we expect now RTD's back for maybe one or more. Christian, what are you thinking? What are you expecting?
Well, what I'm expecting is that he's going to have to mop up the narrative mess that he's made on the floor, because you've got the pseudo appearance of maybe the next Doctor in the form of Rose suddenly appearing. What that means, nobody is quite sure. Maybe she's the Doctor, maybe she's not. You still have Tennant floating around a garden on Earth, doing nothing but twiddling his thumbs, perhaps, with a second TARDIS. You've got a universe shifted by, quote, 1 degree, which is the only way I think Rose could have made an appearance. So somehow they've got to reset everything, bring the two together, and basically fade to white, which then sets the stage for whoever comes after. As Rob Shearman pointed out, the property is at a narrative cul-de-sac. They can't move forward unless this problem is fixed. Now, how would RTD fix it in 50 minutes or 60 or 70 minutes? I couldn't trust you to think that he would do an effective job. They would probably try and curtail some of the heavier agenda-laden insults that he would throw at the fans, just because they'll probably say the criteria is you fix this problem, this problem, this problem, so that we have a product, an IP that we can market to try and find a new production partner with. That is your assignment.
But Joe, I hear what Christian's saying, but and as Farsight's saying, how on earth will he clear the mess up and tell a decent story in and out? The point is, if just keep moving forward is really the truth. We know from the Paul McGann movie and then moving to Chris Eccleston that even RTD made the right decision then. Don't go back over and do another regeneration. Just go forward, keep pushing. And of course, we're all expecting now the Christmas special to tidy everything up.
It's a tall order, because not only that, we have very unfulfilled mystery boxes. We've got the whole Susan narrative. I mean, he plotted in things that were very significant and hinted at really big Doctor Who events, actually. Susan, to me, would be a really big Doctor Who event.
Yeah.
He hinted at it, and it fell apart. He's got a huge mess. We've even got the whole bi-generation thing. Is he going to sort of absorb Billy Piper back into Tennant to clear it up? There's a lot of core cleaning up needing done, superficial cleaning up needing done, to be able to sort of draw a line under it and let another production company come in and start from a second Doctor Who, a reboot, sort of. I liked it when he had the 12 lives. We knew where we stood for, yeah? So even if he'd lived his 12 and then we got a reset somehow of another 12, that's neat. But we don't have such an option just now. There is so much mess needing cleaned up. It's almost impossible to do it in a Christmas special. So I don't know what he's going to do. And is he going to be capable of not putting his message in? Is he going to get away without making, the new Doctor be Rose, the daughter of Donna? Is he just going to throw an absolute bomb at us at the end or something? Yeah, I can't trust him.
Well, one of the jokes that I often bandied about a couple of years ago is, okay, Yasmin Finney is going to be the the
Yeah.
inheritor of the TARDIS, because that would be the final point that he drives home to the audience, and kind of an FU, throwing the finger at the fans who were critical of his writing.
Well,
and he's proven that he's willing to upset fans. He's he's given us the middle finger. He even wrote characters to give us the middle finger. He's he's quite willing to do all that. So I'm really apprehensive about any more content coming from him. Really, I am.
He's able to do the messaging because he's got no more ideas, and this is part of my argument. So just on the bottom bit there from Lindsay Salt, because you've all heard the news, I'm not going to just spend all the time repeating it, but the nugget there is they're delighted that RTD has agreed to write us another spectacular Christmas special, or whatever. We can assure fans the Doctor's going nowhere, and we will be announcing plans for the next series in due course. So in other words, new series plus the Christmas special is what is announced there. I can see the 2 super chats there, but first of all, I just wanted to remind you, I'd asked our 2 panelists what they're expecting, since we're going to have more RTD content, and I had to think about this myself.
Now the news is in, and we learn of a Christmas special penned by Russell T Davies. What can we expect? More of the same messaging against Trump and Farage and anyone on the right, using Doctor Who as his own personal political platform. Will we be overwhelmed with more DEI and inclusivity agendas? Crazy storylines and character arcs? What classic monster or villain will he ambush and vandalize next? Stick with the Sense Sphere to experience the next stormy waters for Doctor Who. Let's see what he serves up next. Dog's bollocks, or more like a dog's breakfast. Whatever happens, the Who pets welcome you on board.
Yeah. All that, by the way, and the Cypher one as well. Garbage Who, give him as a thanks, give him a subscription now. Garbage Who, his channel. I was trying to put his Peter Davison one on tonight, and it buffered really badly. And I promised him tonight, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it once I get a bit more time and the computer can cope. So everybody, Garbage Who, give him a subscription tonight. He's got some great content, and he's decent enough to give me some as well. So Julie Coonan, just before I move on, thank you very much. We do talk about Doctor Who. There is more than RTD. We agree. I totally agree, Julie. I cannot knock that in one shot. Michael Nemo, thank you very much. Can't help but see a parallel here with Disney as Logopolis, RTD as the master, and the entropy of a mismanaged franchise just falling apart. Meanwhile, the fans, like the Doctor, might not survive. Do you know what? If you take that analogy further, Michael Nemo, I feel like the Monitor. And you know what happened to the Monitor? He just disappeared and fragmented himself because he was part of the... You see, as a Doctor Who fan and a Doctor Who YouTuber, I feel as though I'm part of the kind of whole network now. And I think if the network is suffering from entropy, I might disappear too. So your analogy scares me to death, Michael Nemo. But well, thank you very much. People have been very, I have to say, like I said, very helpful tonight. But can I just say, we've not forgotten our Doctor Who. Yeah, he'd be proud of me, wouldn't he, RTD, for putting that fart in? Right, here we go. So, I've teased enough. RTD, right. So what did the source say about RTD first and foremost? The elephant in the room is that the show is awful. And if RTD is writing it, then the wrap-up will be just as awful. He's not agreed to write it to be told what to do and to be censored, so expect more of the same. I'm sorry, folks. Joe?
I thought that's exactly what I feared and what I thought. And if the man who has all of time and space at his fingertips can't come up with good ideas, then, is there any hope? None.
No, the one idea he have is to insult his detractors. That's what it is. He won't tolerate anyone disagreeing with him. So he'll use this as a last platform to try and stick it to all of us.
You see, I'd hoped when RTD did that recent rant, and when this news dropped, I thought, I wonder if he was angry because he knows he's going to have strict oversight. And I did say that in my short from the Amalfi Coast, that basically that's what my other source told me. But then this source tells me, nah, do you think it? Well, I mean, he'll explain the logic a bit more here, actually. So here we go. Well, this is what this source said. I have zero interest in any more RTD, even as a special. He's run out of ideas. There's nothing left. That's not a criticism of RTD. It is if he just takes the paycheck when he knows he hasn't got any more ideas, and therefore, as Joe and Christian have said, he then leans heavily into messaging. Has he got a good sci-fi story in him? And if he doesn't, leave it alone.
I'm just wondering, we were promised the Sea Devil show quite some time ago. I'm just wondering if anything in the Sea Devil show might have a connection. You know, like if that's going to be involved in anything that RTD is going to do. Is there going to be links? Has he put something in that show that is going to affect everything? We've got no idea, do we? Because that might play a small role.
Well, that's why my other source was saying basically that obviously this was a chance to clear things up because they didn't want to end on a spin-off. And wherever that ends up, Joe, and also where we ended up with the reality one and the Billy Piper She-Hulk doctor. So, you know, that's where we were. And the BBC couldn't see that as a good selling point. So here we go again. But as I mean, Tony Farrell here, I put him up. Surely Brendan and Co. If the BBC is now going to closely supervise and keep RTD in check, which is what I was told, then he won't be allowed to do anything that ties the hands of any new production team.
I hope not.
The thing is, he had left because he's now independent again. The contract's over, and sort of signed him up for this. But he left the Billy Piper situation. So, in other words, he was very happy to tie the hands of somebody else, unless they did an SOS and called him back. And so the trick's worked, hasn't it?
Well, he thinks he's got strokes of genius, doesn't he? You can just see him there. Oh, yeah, Billy Piper was a stroke of genius, and a stroke of genius is everywhere, and none of them worked. Making it a musical never worked. So if he's got another stroke of genius in his back pocket for the Christmas special, I would have to question that as well, Russell. Really?
Yeah. Farsight, the Doctor Who YouTube channel has had to turn the comments off. RTD's shills all return. So I know. You know, I have to look at my comments and see whatever they say to me, good and bad. I mean, you know, some of us, isn't this funny? Normal people, independent producers have to just face the flak. But when you get to a certain level in media, politics, or anything, you're untouchable. And they don't like to hear toxicity, call it. I call it criticism. I call it honesty. Isn't it weird how us normal people have to listen to when people don't like us, but the people at the top have to be kind of buffered from it? Why is that? A bit two-tier.
They know where the bodies are, eh? They've been at all the parties, things happen. A bit of P. Diddy in the BBC world. Oh, allegedly.
Well, yes, allegedly, yes. I don't know how we could, but Christian, here's my blooming for tonight. RTD is not the only one that monopolizes it. History is full, Christian, of moments of decay, of denial, of powers pretending, of being paralyzed, of being indecisive, of being ambiguous about their strategy. The general talk normally of the fog of war, don't they? The BBC think they've shown commitment to Doctor Who, but to me, their announcement looks like anything but, because if they're committed to Doctor Who, RTD is not Doctor Who. And their commitment to Doctor Who, if it was so strong, would be, no, for the sake of this very strong brand that we believe in, you're hopping, you're off because the ratings are poor. There's a lot of venom about it, and we need to purify the brand. So bye-bye, because we're committed to Doctor Who. But what they're doing is they're committed to RTD. That's what they are. And so here I've got, RTD has nothing left in the locker. He's got anger. We've seen his tricks. We've seen his arcs. And we've seen his cheek. You know, he boards us on the sexual stuff. But RTD has nowhere left to go. This is his swan song, or his last lament, or his cry as a dying, screaming banshee. That's it, Christian.
Well, that's all it feels like to me. If the BBC actually cared about the property, and I mean cared about it in a meaningful, passionate, committed sense, they would not give it back to RTD. If his contract is already over and they could have gone to any other credible, qualified writer to craft a narrative that would fix the problem, they could have done that. Instead, they went right back to the same person that created the problems in the first place, which shows a total lack of meaningful investment on their part, because we'll probably get more of the same under these conditions.
Now we've got Sonny Waffles, obviously. Hello, Sonny. He's hard to contact sometimes now. He works hard. We need a special, but at what cost? Sonny, I'm going to push back on you as well. We had 3 specials that weren't special. You know, I think now when the BBC calls anything special, we know it's not. We know that it's just a desperate marketing exercise. Can the fans call it special and we'll decide what's special? Do you know what I mean? I really don't think it's up to the BBC to be saying, we're going to do another special for you. It's a Christmas show. They'll have killer candles. They'll have some stupid old crud going on. That's what it'll be. Remember, you see, look, I enjoyed the first RTD era mostly, but we still had spinning Christmas trees. We still had the Santa Claus and I didn't mind the Santa Claus blasting and nearly trying to kill people at the marketplace, but then of course it all went a bit silly after that when I don't know. Joe, am I being too harsh?
No, you're not, because we've just come out of one of the Doctor's potentially highest global conquering moments ever. They had massive budget, yeah? RTD had the world. I mean, that is a dream. It's a TV producer, director's, writer's dream to have the Disney money for my show. Yeah. The whole world is, we're going to get distribution everywhere. This is the pinnacle. This is, let's show them what we're made of. And he did.
Yeah.
He had everything. You couldn't hope for more support, more money, a better team. And look what he gave us. He has failed on a catastrophic level, and they're still hiring him. So it's really perplexing to me.
It's mad. Peter Harrington's my Doctor Who twin, don't you know? And he says, sorry to be a defeatist. Love this program most of my life. Sadly, it's gone. Peter, this is where our twin bit doesn't work. The more he wrecks my show, the more I get heated. Have you noticed by any chance? And the more I want to fight, and the more I want to call it out. Because, Peter, I think in these dangerous times, RTD said we're in dangerous times. I'm agreeing with him. In these dangerous times where free speech is a little bit, I want to speak up. I want on this tiny, tiny YouTube channel to say, listen, mate, listen, mush. What you've done to Doctor Who in the last couple of years is an abomination, is vandalism, is an ambush of a cultural icon, and you need to back off fast. Before then, I enjoyed some of his stuff. I loved the Stolen Earth cliffhanger. Me and Farsight disagree on this, but I'm there with Philip Morris. We agree. But he did do good stuff. Midnight, I loved. I kind of liked how the Sarah Jane Smith was brought back. I know it was done by Toby Whitehouse, but the era overall was energized. But there's a time when you have to learn to go, and for everything he's done right, he's now undoing by staying too long. And whose fault's that? Well, okay, BBC, but it's also his fault. If he's got all these ideas to do another AIDS project or to do another gay drama or whatever he wants to do, he's got the network and he's got the influence and he's got channels biting his hand. So why don't you just go and now leave Doctor Who to somebody else?
I think he's not willing to well, how shall I phrase this? We know that he has stewardship of the program, but he feels he has proprietary ownership of it, and that's the distinction. It's almost as though he's afraid that if he departs, another writer or another team may undo the brilliance of his messaging. My God, they might actually bring it back to a glory day format circa the 1970s and Tom Baker. He can't have that. Even worse, imagine a few years down the road, someone does that and it succeeds. What does that do to his reputation by comparison? He's got a vested interest in holding on as long as he can in order to maintain his ownership of the property.
Yeah, and Mad Mackham. So I've had the Toon Army, Newcastle. I've now got Mad Mackham, Sunderland. The only positive would be, no matter how bad it is, if this time it fades to black, then at least we have a blank canvas for the future. Bet he won't. But Mad Mackham, there's a new series. I'm going to tell you more in a moment. There's going to be no fade to black. And we don't want fade into black and white because Toon Army will get too excited. No, unfortunately, he's gonna. I think for everything, even if he thought in his good willing and good intent, he was trying to sort a few things out. I think with everything he does to sort something out, he creates another mess. His sledgehammer TARDIS was not a clever move, leaving the David Tennant in back in Donna's garden. The bi-generation was a bad solution to an issue which has caused merry hell. I actually don't like his solutions to things, Joe.
Nope. And he's gone in with a big pair of feet and trodden on a lot of things. There is so much. He went in and unplugged core pieces and plugged them in elsewhere. He's really got in there and Frankensteined it all up, hasn't he?
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm almost curious now to see what he's going to do about any of it. It's a tragedy. I hope they write books about this era in detail in the future because it's fascinating that this man's still alive. I thought he was off writing another series. I thought he had moved on.
Oh, I know, but I'm so busy, darling, and so in demand, darling, that I've slotted you in, darling. Oh, God.
It shows us he's not felt any of the heat, doesn't it? RTD, despite everything being, in the open now and thrown at him, he has not felt any shame or heat over any of this at all. It's astonishing.
Because...
Well,
go on, Christian, because I was just going to say that the lack of truth to power is the reason I was saying to Peter Harrington, it's going to have to be left to us.
Yeah, what I would have to do is imagine, do you think he would even tolerate putting on Sense Sphere for 10 minutes to hear what people are truly saying? Absolutely not. His ego couldn't tolerate that. He wouldn't be able to handle it. If he's in a social media format and someone makes even a neutral, positive suggestion, he'll slam them and shut them down. He will not tolerate it. So my guess is he's insulated in his social group. He is very selective about any medium that he accesses that might inform him. And he really doesn't feel the heat. And so, in a way, he probably doesn't fully understand why his message hasn't landed.
We all have to have that level of, I don't know, authenticity and transparency where we have to allow people to criticize and we have to have our eyes open to it and our ears open. As a teacher, you're very used to it. Teenagers telling you what for. This is a crap lesson. You're boring, rubbish. English is crap. And that's before you've opened your gob. And then when you've planned a lesson and they're going at it, and then the parents join in, like Barry. I don't love myself at all. I'm very aware of all my warts and all. I don't think RTD is. That's the trouble. I think, it's protected. I wish somebody had protected me in school. Never tell Brendan the fact that he's crap. Don't do that. No. So, Savage Grace here. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. We're not being fooled twice, so I agree, Savage Grace, this time, though. We're all so eyes open. That's why we're getting our criticisms in now. Our cynicism is sharpened. And he knows that, Joe, and he's going back into the lion's den. Do we give him any credit for that?
No, he tore apart a beloved show. He like I said, he had the world at his feet, all of time and space, massive budget, access to any writer he wanted. And instead of going, right, get me a good time and space sci-fi writer, let's really go exploring. No, he went and got activists. People with little writing ability. We've got a lot of money at stake here. And he handed episodes to people without proven track records who were out and out activists, nothing to do with sci-fi, not even Doctor Who fans. And that's what he did, and that's really concerning to me. He never took it seriously and any other, not in a sci-fi show way. He took it 100% as an actor, and I think he's pretty much said that, didn't he? That this was going to be an activist show now. It's the wrong medium for it, mate. But
well, thank you to Savage Grace. I haven't forgotten my manners. Here we go.
Yeah!
Dead. So they'll be found in Canada. So anyway, here we are talking about Doctor Who is back in Christmas 2026. Now, more stuff from the source. A clean break with a new team will be much wiser strategically. A return to the last era just reminds everyone how bad it was, so you have to question the wisdom of the BBC executive decisions already. I think we know from what the panel and the thread are saying, we all are unanimous in that. I feel like Mrs. Molly Sugden in Are You Being Served? I am unanimous in that. Continue. It will merely be a logistical, practical decision for the BBC, said my source. Russell T Davies is not an owner in Bad Wolf. He's employed so the creative runners can change easily if Bad Wolf and Sony aren't prepared to work with these new creatives. So he's now, back to being self-employed. They're getting him back as a one-off. Yep. That's kind of where we stand on this one. And he continued, he is doing it on his own terms. He was out of contract, so he's not signing for the special for it to be edited. He's got so many other projects he could just pass and say he's too busy. So the fact that he's coming back, we can only assume is on his terms. He understands Doctor Who, the BBC don't. Therefore, just like the BBC, Bad Wolf, and Disney, yes, we will mention Disney tonight. Disney walked away because really they couldn't get any input in because RTD is the untouchable one. And we're going back to him again. I just think, why do we need a special or a non-special? Why do we need a tidy up? Why do we need another episode of just the same that's not working? Why can't we just safely leave it for a while until somebody does come up with a good pitch, Joe? A good idea. If you are trying to make a new show now, Joe, you know for a fact you're fighting up against the tide because to make a pitch now in this very difficult media climate, you're going to have to be lucky, genius, and lucky.
Yeah, it's curious to me. Like I said, well, we've got the BBC who are saying they're bored sick of Doctor Who. And the fact is, Doctor Who is potentially a massive success and a massive moneymaker, has a huge fan base. So I guess they can't completely shut it down. I think there's an element of saving face because we're going to have the Sea Devils appearing. They're going to be bombarded with questions again about the future of Doctor Who. So maybe they're trying to get ahead on that one. The only big issue for me is, okay, who is the damn Doctor? It looks to me like they're just going to have to run with Tennant. Because who's going to be the doctor in this special?
I've got news on that one, Joe. I'll make you wait. Tonight. Don't worry, I'm not saying you'll learn tonight. It's not like you have to wait over Christmas or anything. But Dead Man,
I
the
think
problem
you just
is that
had to move on it. They had to be seen to be in sort of some form of control. They've made that right. It's going ahead. We're going to get, I think they've been forced into that corner, I think.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Don't worry, Christian. I will bring you in. Don't worry. Dead Man. The problem is that the BBC insisted on performing, and now I can't speak now, on RTD at any cost, and we are all paying the cost. Christian, we said it before we started the show. I think this is weakness, it's indecision, it's paralysis, it's ambiguity of strategy. It's all the famous things of all our bad leaders in history when obviously they just fail to make the simple decision that might hurt somebody, because truth hurts. And that's all that we're suffering from here. RTD, I let you go.
Well, that's what they should. They should be able to make a concrete decision. This feels a little bit like kicking the can down the road. Okay, they won't do anything for more than a year, and then there will be one special that buys them time. Maybe that time will buy them one more year to consider their options, because they aren't making the necessary decision. I mean, wouldn't it be brilliant if they wrapped up this iteration and in a flash of regenerative light, Paul McGann was the doctor who comes in as number 16? I mean, guess what?
Yeah.
They've already done Tennant coming back. Why couldn't they bring McGann back?
Yeah.
Revisit a face that that would be marketable. But I don't think they thought that far ahead. They're just going from moment to moment and trying to get through this crisis without really addressing the issues that need to be addressed.
Death by 1,000 cuts. This is what it is, isn't it? Look, I don't know what everybody in the threads jobs are, but I think we all would probably agree. We've seen those bosses in our jobs, and they do everything but make the sensible decision. And it's because they twist their backsides on a sixpence. They daren't make that decision because it will hurt somebody. And yet those same bloody managers are very quick to hurt us and tell us the truth. So, for example, as somebody has said in the thread, we're all the Conrad Clarks. We're the nasty people online. We're the nasty people who have a voice. Oh my God, perish the thought that we have a voice and an opinion in 2025. My God, is our education system that good that everybody has an opinion? Shocking. We need to change that fast. This is like a sci-fi dystopia. People with a voice are told that they're wrong, that they shouldn't be heard, that they should be kind of isolated, that I hope you boil in oil. Remember what the doctor said in that awful TARDIS sequence? I know that you die. Honestly, RD, get a mirror, stare at yourself and work yourself out, because my God, you're sounding dodgy, really dodgy. Now, I would be dodgy myself if I ignore Fergal. This may sound strange, but one of the reasons why I didn't like the bi-generation was that it was essentially, in theory, it undoes the Doctor's accumulated trauma. The Doctor's accumulated trauma makes the character interesting. We say jeopardy, don't we? Jeopardy. When we watch Tom Baker's Doctor fall from the pylon, we don't assume that he then just gets up again and has an alternative streamline because of the bi-generation. We don't assume that lovely episode where the John Pertwee Doctor has to atone for his naughtiness, nicking the blue crystal. He has to face his sin. It's a brilliant episode at the end. And you can see how hurt and scared the third Doctor is. Where's the jeopardy if he knows, well, I'm going to bi-generate anyway, so it doesn't matter. And I could go on. It's wrecked it. It's an interesting
It diminished something that is a huge deal. The regeneration is really one of the biggest risks for the Doctor. He never looks forward to regeneration. It's like a death every time, and it was very profound actually. And it was, gosh, imagine getting the chance as a writer to write a regeneration scene. What a gorgeous thing that is. And they just, it was such a rotten idea. And again, this bi-generation was sold to us as, right, okay, Tennant's doctor's all messed up. He's the trauma doctor. I'm the fixed doctor. I'm the new hero. I'm at 100%. I am all functioning, all new, better, greater, fixed doctor. No, he wasn't, was he? He was the least heroic doctor we have ever had by a huge amount. He left his companion in peril. He cried every bloody, he was the cowardly doctor. So even every time he's given us these, right, this is a fantastic new idea, bi-generation's going to work, and here's why, he didn't follow it through then. It just didn't. It is really ridiculous when we start to take apart what RTD's ideas were. They have been fundamentally terrible.
Well, before Christine comes in, my thank you to Fergal is, well, I can only do it one way, really. Let me do. I'll try and cheer you up, mate. Here we go.
You said we were alone here, trapped like this, like a sponge beneath the sea. I, Morbius, who once led the High Council of the Time Lords, now reduced to this. Who are you? Where have you come from? Are you one of the Sisterhood?
I thought it was absolutely vital to do this. I'm so proud of the fact that I deserve an award. And I have problems with her. And lots of us on the production team that I hired only last week had problems with her.
This is the problem, Christian. He could bring Morbius back. He could do even more damage. And this is what concerns me. By the way, Christian, I'm going to throw a spanner in the works here because RTD is now still in play. So now I'm going to bring into this case study number 1 here. And a few people, not just this silly goose Benji, but a few people have mentioned this over weeks and said, Brendan, when are you going to mention this? So the reason she's called Ruby Sunday is because her mum had a wish for her to be called Ruby after the road, and it came true. So further evidence towards the likely theory that Ruby was originally going to turn out to be Deciderum in season 2 before Belinda replaced her as lead comp. In other words, the 2 seasons of Doctor Who was all the wish world, was all tied up in fantasy. And the man who thought that was a good idea and also rubber stamped the Time Hotel is still in play, Christian.
Yeah, but they're taking the wrong avenue, because what I do is I go back and I look at the moment of bi-generation. Okay, he's got the gig. Maybe we're going to move into fantasy because this is an alternate line that we're going to play, but he didn't execute it well. He could have played with Gatwa thinks he's the perfected doctor, only to discover with increasing desperation that he's flawed in a significant way, and realizes the only way to undo the damage is reunification with Tennant, which Tennant might be reluctant to do. So you have a powerful sense of jeopardy and dynamic to play with, and he certainly wasn't capable and willing to exploit that. Instead, he went down the rabbit hole of fantasy, where every one of the steps he followed didn't pay off. He set so many things up and nothing paid off. But what we do know was there was never any jeopardy at any time for any of the characters for any reason.
No.
There's no stakes.
And it doesn't appeal to me. Fantasy and sci-fi are so different. I think the ignorant people, Joe, think they're very similar. They're not, are they? I'm not knocking fantasy. Fantasy can be great as a genre. It's not my thing. Sci-fi is my thing. And I'm sorry, but I hate it when people say sci-fi fantasy. Sci-fi fantasy. It's all, no, it's not.
No, fantasy had no place in a Doctor Who. It had zero place in that show whatsoever, and it didn't work. It was horrific. It was actually quite disturbing. Like, we got part of the thrill of Doctor Who, and I've said this so many times, was getting a bit of fright, being frightened, a bit of peril. Even, I was watching an episode when poor River's song disappears, in the library, and
Oh, yeah.
I was going to say I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but we all know. But, I was watching it feeling ill for River, upset and involved. Basically what I'm trying to say is emotionally connecting to the show, because characters we're going to love were in trouble, they were hurting. and that's what keeps us coming back. And there was none of that whatsoever. I didn't give a damn monkeys about any of the characters. I felt sorry for Ruby because we were messed around with that girl's storyline. I mean, it just went, it was bonkers. And I had hopes that she might be an interesting story. But to come out with the Rey Skywalker, she's on Woody, was such a damn letdown, you know? And I kept giving the man chances that I might get invested in it, and I just never ever did.
I do
Whatsoever.
I do
Doesn't
find
matter.
that your listing, Vashta Narada, Science in the Library, Stephen Moffat to get Stephen Moffat. He having had two boys, he just knows what scares kids. I would have thought a good writer, you don't need to have kids to know what scares people because we've all been a kid. But RTD seems to have forgotten. He seems to think let's just do fart jokes. I think he thinks he's doing the Basil Brush show, not Doctor Who. I think he's got his timelines wrong. He seems to be doing the slapstick that came before Doctor Who, or the Larry Grayson generation game that came after Doctor Who. He seems to have got his timelines a bit skew-whiffed.
Do you know what I hated most? Do you know what I absolutely will never forgive him for? Is putting bloody musical songs into it. That paid me off. No, that was me throwing my music. You know the Goblin song and the Beatles episode? That is the worst TV I ever bloody saw in my life.
Joe,
Sorry.
it was nominated. Joe, you. I feel as I need to help you here. Honestly, don't you realise that the show was nominated for the outstanding choreography? I always tuned into Doctor Who to watch the John Pertwee Shuffle by your door. You know, great choreography. That's what I always wanted from Doctor Who. I really did. I didn't want the big sci-fi concepts and sonic screwdrivers. I wanted some great footwork. I wanted Bonnie Landford to do kind of red hot shoe shuffle. Oh, what is this?
Hated it. I'd like to get a hold of RTD for 5 minutes and just let him have it about that because I bloody hated that. Really did.
Well, I've got Maria UK. RTD used Doctor Who as his angry platform and used it to vent his rage at the world and called it genius. Yeah. I agree. I think he had a vacuum of ideas, but he's filled them with, I've got loads of ideas. The world's a dark place. Oh, there's those nasty politicians in America and Britain. I need to go to town on it. Oh, bog off. Stop wetting the bed and get on with your life. Honestly, can we please do sci-fi? Can we please do escapism? Can we please do adventure? Can we please go on a romp where I can forget about my bills? I can forget about all the news and I can just enjoy this weird, strange, unique character going off and having the cheek and the guile to sort something out. Can I please have some of that, please?
And alien stuff. Sorry, Christian. I just watched Begonia film in the cinema, so I'll be quick. I don't want to give spoilers for Begonia, but there was a scene in it which was set elsewhere, shall we say, and it was fantastic. And I was sitting thinking, my God, if Doctor Who could only have put this sort of stuff in it. So anyone watching Begonia, look out for the end and you'll see what I mean. We need more of that sci-fi back and that alienness back. Sorry, Christian.
No, that's okay. I was just going to follow up and mention what Brendan said. You know, we want adventure with stakes that allows us to escape the daily drudgery of life, which is grand. But what RTD felt he was doing, he was replacing stakes with agenda, i.e., I can't create stakes for the characters in the story, but what I'll do is try and create a tether into the real world and say the stakes are the agenda messaging that I'm pushing that I've got to get everyone on board with. So he's misconstrued where the stakes in a story actually are. We know it's crafted with good writing, with good characterization, with a strong plot, with effective development, but he thinks that providing a message is where the stakes are at, and the stakes are for him.
Well, thank you to Marie UK, and I have to say I've got to get these thank yous in because my thread is going. Woo! I can't keep up. Michael Nemo, thank you. Grateful that Doctor Who didn't cross over with the abomination that became Star Trek. Oh my God, it was close. Was that close, wasn't it? I think it was going to happen if they stayed around. Two franchises on life support don't equal a healthy one. Oh, how wrong you are, Michael Nemo. Didn't you understand the Empire of Death? Death to death brings life. Yeah, remember that? Remember that amazing line? Fergal again, I had the sneaking suspicion that the introduction of fantasy elements would give RTD the excuse to give minimal explanation for solutions and make things up as he went along. I wanted it to be Ron. I unfortunately, Fergal, have been too long in the tooth as an English teacher, and I know that when people do fantasy, when they write it, not as professionals at the very, very top, it's laziness, it's shortcutting, it's magic wand. I'm not including J.K. Rowling, by the way. She's phenomenal. What I'm talking about is the simple magic wand, silly stuff. Sledgehammer TARDIS by anyone? That's what I mean.
We got the bloody the Sonic. Remember all the stuff they put on Tennant Sonic?
Yeah.
The
Mhm.
unseen stuff that never went anywhere, did it?
No, and I could smell the grass and I'm in 1602. I can tell by the wind. I'm going to tell this little young copper that she's going to say yes on Christmas Day. Oh, for God.
Yeah.
Who are you? Septic peg. It's anyway. I need to recharge myself. So the only way I can do that is just with more proper Doctor Who.
Stand by for test on arm action. Testing. Stand by for sight test. Commence testing. Sight to be improved. 30 yards maximum. Movement test. Commence testing.
Put down your weapon.
Yeah, that's what we need. Some new Doctor Who, proper Doctor Who. So, you mentioned David Tennant. Well, here we go. Tennant is definitely going to do it, says my source. They will probably bring them all back, Catherine Tate, etc. But obviously Billy Piper, if they can get her in for a minute. But honestly, do people care? Until it moves out of RTD's hands, it's going to suck.
Agreed.
Oh, Tennant.
How many Tennants can we have? I mean, can we have a whole room of Tennants? No. Again, David Tennant is the living proof of what we're saying about RTD as a writer. The more you come back, the more it's the law of diminishing returns. And it spoils what was once a great thing. I have to say, I loved that first line of David Tennant in the Christmas Invasion, or so should I say, in the Dalek one when he just regenerated. Barcelona. The way he spoke, the way he flicked his hair, I basically was in love with Doctor Who, and I was in love with Doctor Who. I was won over. This was dishy Doctor Who. This was a charismatic Doctor Who. I was energized as a fan. And then it got a little bit too clever Dick by the end. And then he comes back again, Day of the Doctor. It was a special after all. But I didn't, unlike the 3 Doctors and the 5 Doctors, I felt the way they dealt with the David Tennant Doctor, I wasn't really interested. It was the War Doctor I was interested in. And then he comes back again as a weak, puny 14th Doctor. No.
I was absolutely heartbreaking to see what they did to that Doctor. And I am quite shocked at Tennant, even though he did... I don't know. I think the man changed at some point in his life, in his personal life. He must have. But how could he not have questioned what they were doing to that doctor? He was humiliated several times over, and it was cruel. I don't see how you could write that and not see that you were not humiliating the doctor. You know, I mean, the last time I saw it done correctly, I think was we had Capaldi being a bit embarrassed of the first Doctor and some of the mannerisms, and Capaldi was like, "Oh," like he was cringing when he was seeing how he evolved. But this time round, we didn't get that. We just got the Doctor outright being humiliated, which no Doctor Who fan likes to see that being done to the Doctor.
No.
It's disgusting. And I don't know how Tennant, as an actual fan himself, didn't question that.
Because I'll be honest, as I'm bringing in Christian, my truth is I struggled with the third series of Doctor Who with Tennant when he was turned into a budgie. There's things you can do with a budget, but please don't, as Joe's saying then, just don't do that to the Doctor. I felt really, I just didn't, he was belittled, literally. I just didn't like it. And it was all to make the companion the hero, Martha Jones going around the whole world. Yeah. I didn't like certain moments in Classic Who, little one or two moments. John Pertwee, the third Doctor, so mighty. When the Queen, the giant one, made him turn on a spot. I know it was part of the plot, but I struggle. And like Joe says, I don't want to see my Doctor belittled or diminished. I can't do it.
It's bad writing, bad attitude. Sorry. You don't do that. You just don't do it.
Well, it begs the question, what changed in Tennant's mind that permitted him to think that this was acceptable to be the character? And I can't picture Tennant in 2006 saying, yes, this is definitely the road I want to go down with this character. I don't think he would have done that. But now, for some reason, it was acceptable. And look what it led to. They really fully deconstructed the character on almost all levels. So I would rather have someone brand spanking new. I'd rather see Cillian Murphy wrap up Peaky Blinders and decide, hey, I'd like to inherit the role. I think I can do it right, provided you don't destroy the character in the process. But I'm not sure we're going to get anything like that.
Well, and yet again, they did. RTD brought in a new rule that he never followed up on, because the Doctor was told not to assume pronouns, right? And we've never had that ever again. We've just assumed pronouns ever since that. He was really put in his place about that, but that's never been raised again. So RTD kept putting in these new rules that we all have to follow, and then not following them.
Oh, like Navity?
Yeah.
Well, this is the farce of it, isn't it? What do we call it, Joe? Virtue signaling. People, there's nothing wrong with being virtuous, but the thing is, we can spot people who will virtue signal but don't live by it, and that's different. And that was a very classic example of that. Michael Nemo, is it just me, or are some of the more boring classic stories better than all of 13's and 15's adventures? I never like to make a blanket statement, but I think yes. Honestly, I have watched them all. I'm not one of those who was dipped in and out. I have seen every single surviving episode of Doctor Who, and it's definitely the 15th Doctor. What a shame. Just waste of 2 years, waste of Disney budget. We'll come into that soon. What a blooming shame. And Farsight, just while I'm there, what killed the show is supposed to save it? Question mark. I think it's more of a statement, actually, isn't it, Farsight, that basically the person who killed the show is now coming back to save it, and I don't think that's going to work as a clever dick juxtaposition or anything. Yes, it doesn't make sense. It does not make sense. But it does make sense because we know the BBC and we know top executives and we know top bosses. They all are frightened of making the right decision. They always make the wrong decision because they want to look right and fair and all that nonsense. They get themselves in knots. And I've got Paul Ashworth here as well. Dr. Rose and Dr. David can't get it off together or will be self-inflicted incest. Just saying. Don't go there, because we'll have a plot line or a spin-off. Big Finish will be onto it before you know it. I don't even want to get in there. There was a double bed in the TARDIS when Jodie Whittaker was around, so we know there's a double bed available for anybody who's interested. Thank you to all you three. Before we move on with all my more source stuff, I'm going to scare you now, because RTD does have form. He does.
We've had long conversations about bringing the Daleks back because they're such amazing, iconic villains. But you know something? Time, society, cultures, taste has moved on, thank God. And there's a problem with the Daleks of old, in a sense that they are wheelchair users, all of them, the whole lot of them, look, they've got wheels down there, I can see them, who are evil. And I have problems with her. And lots of us on the production team that I hired only last week had problems with her. This problem of associating disability with Pepper Potts. My mom got offended because she said, "Oh, look, you keep pretending our salt and pepper shake is the Daleks." I was like, I'm not having that. And so, yes, I thought, you know what? Change is happening. And when change happens, Doctor Who has to change along with it. I thought it was absolutely vital to do this. And I'm so proud of the fact that I have. I deserve an award. Honestly, no one's taking this from me.
Yeah, he's still in the game. That's the blooming problem with David Tennant and the She-Hulk Doctor. Because if we've got a Christmas special, she's going to have to somewhere be explained away. So, of course, we've got problems before we... Joe, you were saying minutes ago that we used to look forward to an episode of Doctor Who on Christmas Day. You'd be there with your sherry or something. No, not now, because I'd be thinking, oh, God, we're going to have the She-Hulk Doctor going, yeah, is my makeup all right? And then we're going to have to say it's part of the TARDIS sentience thing and it was a warning. And,
it's upsetting to not look forward to. How bizarre is it to not look forward to an episode of Doctor Who? And that's where we're at. We are like, we're afraid of what more pain he's going to inflict on us. It's astonishing. It's absolutely amazing. I mean, it'd be funny if it wasn't sad.
I'm scared. I feel as though when you see, by the way, everybody, and I like Rob Sheeman and I liked his writing, but the Dalek episode, the one little thing I didn't like about it was the Rose touching the Dalek and then the genetic mix-up, and all of a sudden you had a Dalek had an existential crisis. Yeah, all right, yeah. I couldn't stand remembrance of the Daleks when that Dalek at the end started spinning around and kind of committed suicide. I mean, please, excuse me, Daleks doing that. So no, I'm not having it. I'm really going to have to face this out again, really. You know, the She-Hulk Doctor and not Christian. I can't deal with this.
No, this is, well, if we talk about the fact that you may have Tennant there and you may have Rose Piper there and they've got to, get together, it lends itself painfully close to some form of self-pleasuring that I just would rather not see them go down the path of. It's not going to be any better than what we've gotten previously.
No. It's just not good. And, Source continued, they have jobs to protect and it's much easier to just carry on and blame the fans as racist, sensitive transphobes. They aren't listening. They are just firefighting. Joe, I know you're dying to come back on that. I will say it again. My source knows how they think. They're protecting themselves. They daren't tell each other what's bad about what they've done, like bad ratings. And it's much easier just to blame Joe, Christian and Brendan and everyone in the thread, you're included, as racist, sensitive, transphobes, because they're not listening. They are firefighting.
Well, I would like to ask the Doctor Who fans and appreciators to fight back. If this starts, please contact the BBC, because I find the whole racist, transphobic argument that we're getting stuck with really, really upsetting, yeah? Because we're not disagreeing with how the the show is being written, with characters and how they're introduced, and finding it to be disagreeable. We are not disagreeing with any race. The Black Doctor, by and large, is certainly in my community, nobody said a thing. A lot of us were like, oh, might have liked Richard Ayoade, I can't say his name right, or Idris Elba.
Mm.
There, and again, same with the trans thing. It was the way, not that Rose had a trans child, it was the way it was forced down our throat that somehow this trans child was superior, the most beautiful female on the island. It was the way it was done. The only argument I can give about the Black Doctor, in my point of view, was I was quite insulted when he said in the TARDIS, "You only felt happy in one place on Earth and accepted." I thought that was diabolical, considering that country murders gay people.
Yep.
That's a whole nother show. I'd love to talk about that at length, how that even happened. That was disgusting. That was a disgusting move by the showrunner and the writers, not us viewers. So I would really say to people, you stand up against these accusations. We're neither racist. Don't take it. Do not take it from the BBC. It's a disgrace that we're taking it on the chin. Don't do it. Don't accept it.
No, we've got to push back, because since truth is getting pushed into the margins and freedom of speech has been pushed to the margins, when it comes to our show, I'm sorry, but we have to get stronger, don't we, Joe? We have to say that's wrong. No, that's not right. And I have to say, I think, Christian, you've seen it in America probably, that they may throw the kitchen sink at the opposition. They may throw things at you and labels, but in the end, people think you're throwing those labels so much that I can tell you're just panicking.
And that's become the case. Generally speaking, if someone who's in a position of power, however temporarily, if they feel they're losing it, they're going to throw as many aspersions, as many as ad hominem attacks as they possibly can on their critics, because they've got nothing else. They've got nothing in the form of data. They've got nothing in the form of numbers, evidence of any kind that would back up the credibility of what they're doing. So what do? They just come out and make blind attacks. An intelligent and informed audience is aware when that's happening, and they just turn it off. Maybe it works at the start of something. People say, gosh, they're calling me these bad things. Maybe I need to do some self-reflection. And they do. And then after a moment of reflection, they realize, my gosh, I'm not any of those things. And from that point on, any noise that they decide they're going to spew on the populace is not going to find traction, because it's going to be shut down. People will not hear it.
And when this happens, Joe, Christine, and everybody, I will remind myself of 1984, George Orwell. There's a moment in it when our hero, Winston Smith, is accused of, well, basically paedophilia. And that allegation destroys his reputation and therefore silences him.
Yeah.
It's not proven and it's not right. And what's happening here is the fans are being accused of being lots of things to basically diminish our vocal, cords, and to diminish what is being said, to diminish our channels, to diminish our collective opinion. Because if they actually did listen to all our opinions, they'd be frightened at the numbers. So what they've got to do is say, well, we're not going to listen to the numbers. We might even call it the majority, because they're not the nice majority. We would like to listen to the virtuous minority. Yeah, they're starting to go into very strange places. Michael Nemo, you might be onto it. The BBC's close to signing on David Tennant to play the 17th, the 19th, and the 21st Doctors, just in case the next 8 years of the show are terrible. And by God, I have watched every episode, but I don't know if I could cope with that. And he continues like saying, that RTD impression is amazing. It's Jack. Problem being Lee's friend. I've got to get him back on, but personal things go on, and life, and I've left him alone. I hope he's all right. But basically, I'd love to have Jack back on. Brilliant. He is good. He does Terrence sticks as well, remember, and he does Shooty Gatwa. So yes, he's a very talented lad, and I'd love to have him back on. But I leave people alone when other things are going on in people's lives. Of course you do. It's called perspective. Peter, I know. He just put out an unaware message started by Chibs. The doctor's really black and decided to be right for multiple lifetimes and goes black to white. Sounds like messaging self-hate. It makes me panic at all these things. I will thank everybody for what you're doing with the super chats, but I'll thank you also by carrying on as well. So we all know what we are. Yeah, thank you for that. My best advice, now this is the source, media producer. My best advice to fans is to lower your expectations to zero and have a glance at whatever the new series is. It's so sad. It's been run into the ground. I mean,
but we're all touching grass, so we're on the ground anyway.
Yeah, and he's a Doctor Who fan as well, and he's it's gutting. It's gutting. I mean, Christian, I don't want to walk away from it, but because we're fans. That's the very nature of being a fan. We're passionate, but he's basically saying, cruel to be kind. Maybe it's best just have a little look, and if it isn't what you like, just enjoy the archives and enjoy the Blu-rays.
That's all you can do at this point. I don't find I'm looking forward to anything coming out of certainly Bad Wolf and the BBC relating to Doctor Who anytime in the near future, because I don't trust it's going to be something that's palatable. They've destroyed the show for every one of us that has gone through this process and are grieving the death of a show that we've loved for decades. The only way you can hurt someone who's lost everything, one of my favorite lines, is to give them back something broken. And that's what this feels like. They're going to give us back a little bit more of Doctor Who in a broken form. I mean, how much more painful do you want to make it?
Well, there.
there you go.
There's my timing. I mean, you all know that the Sea Devils was my entry point into Doctor Who, and aren't I a lucky lad? And now I'm going to apparently, because I'm a fanatic, see that diminish the very beginning of my Doctor Who formative years. Please, what the hell are you doing? I'm sorry, but I'll grant the fact that over time you have to sometimes evolve what a monster looks like. But please tell me, in what bloody universe that is a Sea Devil?
He's done it so someone can bang her, hasn't he?
There you go. Yes.
You can get sex in there, and then he's crossed the final boundary. We're going into interspecies sex now. Thanks, Russell. We were all really hoping for that.
Yeah, I'm sure it's in the alphabet soup. The list, isn't it? LGBTQI. I think one of them is into alien, whatever. I'm sure there's one.
That's the only reason to make that semi-attractive. If we're thinking in Russell T. Davies terms, the man is sexually. I mean, you only hired this lad because you wanted to sleep with him. He told us that.
Yeah, he, in the writer's tale, he says he loves his bum. Yeah, it's all there, I mean, think what you want in your own little world, but if you're a top showrunner, maybe don't share stuff about the ones that you're appointing, because people might do 2 and 2 and make 4. So there you go on that one. So we've covered a lot of ground already, and we've just started, folks. Fergal, I think that the only way for the public to be enthusiastic for Doctor Who again is for a hiatus. I think part of the reason why it was successful in 2005 is because it wasn't on TV for 16 years. And I think, Fergal, sadly, we all agree on this. I know we do. I think it needs a rest. We need the Fitzroy mob to go away. We need anybody linked with it. Peter McTighe, all the rest. I'm sorry, new broom. We need new people who haven't touched it. And so therefore, you know, all of them are included. So as we just start on our next topic, which is about Bad Wolf and the new series, I want to bring happiness to you all.
Happiness will prevail. When you smile, I want to see those teeth.
I understand you're responsible for this planet. And is it a happy...
And everyone on Terra Alpha is very happy. Don't worry, I'm back. Fifi's been eating too many chocolates lately. Dreary closed. Happiness will prevail. Oh, there we are, my dog. We're a team, Fifi, you and I. You take the vermin in the pipes. You betrayed me. You're supposed to be waiting for Fifi.
Oh, I have to play that. I adore the music. I really do. The only thing I liked about it. Mark Reeves, I'd rather do another tour in Iraq. Oh God, and I know that I know you're not saying that flippantly, than sit through another RTD episode. No grass, but I'd touch sand. Mark Reeves, thank you for your service. I know you don't mean that. It just shows you the pain as a fan. I know one from what you're saying. Thank you, mate, for that. And like I said, thank you for your service. Not everybody can do it. Let me show you this one to say thank you.
Oh, no. Lynx, Hecky Thump. What's wrong, Grandad? Don't you want a kebab from that takeaway booth? That's no takeaway booth, you wet wipe. That's a Suntaran scout ship. A Suntaran experiment. Typical sense sphere.
Yeah, typical sense sphere, beyond schedule, so we'll move on. Hey, Bad Wolf might be staying, Joe. Hey, they're probably the only British production company that can do it, says my source, with the infrastructure. It's tough times out there. Another company will pitch for it, but they will not have the track record. They won't get it.
That's ridiculous because they have just lost their track record. Their track record is in the bin, yeah? So a fresh production company right now has a better track record than what they've just done to Doctor Who. They took a successful IP and it's now in the gutter. I was going to say that, just to pick up on your last comment about a break would give Doctor Who one thing that has been missing, and that is cohesive planning, forecasting, strong infrastructure, not flying by the seat of their pants, making up crap as they go. That's what Russell was doing. It's what happened in the Disney Star Wars. They didn't have a plan for each of the three, and that's why it was a complete mess. And Doctor Who seems to have gone down the same sort of route. So a hiatus would give a company time to get everything storyboarded, story arcs. They would get the surprise mystery boxes, have the payoff. They would have the time to sit and give us high quality Doctor Who.
Yeah.
So that's why I think this is worth fighting for.
I'm going to depress people tonight, and I'm really sorry about this because I like to have some hope there. There is a bit of hope in what I will be telling you tonight, but Matthew Burrows, I've missed the start. Remember, that's detention for you, mate. Has the source revealed anything about the future beyond the RTD crap special? We've done our discussion about the Christmas special for now, but I do have more details about the new series as mooted, and we've just started talking about the Bad Wolf commitment. So Matthew Burrows, have a stiff drink. Okay, Christian, that was good news, wasn't it? Bad Wolf staying.
Oh, this is going to be painful. The only reason to keep them on is because maybe they have some of the technical experience having done it in the past, but they don't have the ability to craft anything of quality. It's one thing to say, I know how to do the job. Okay, you did the job. Did you do the job right? Well, no, but that's beside the point. I know how to do the job. I don't want more of the same. I want something good. Is that too much to ask?
No, and I have to say, I don't want to fall into being an echo chamber myself. And you can slip into it because I'm more angry than I was 2 years ago. But Tony Farrell quite rightly says, sorry, don't agree. Doctor Who was dying before Bad Wolf supposedly came to its rescue. Well, the end of Classic Who, I did not enjoy, and that had nothing to do with Bad Wolf. So I have to agree with you there. Of course I do, Tony Farrell. Bad Wolf didn't exist in the early era, 2005 to 10. They were all working for the BBC then. So although Bad Wolf as a concept might have been an idea, they were working for the BBC. The Bad Wolf has only just done the 3 specials and these last 2 years. And yes, it was dying under Moffat. It was dying under Chibnall. You are totally correct. And whatever I say tonight, I don't want that to be forgotten. Doctor Who has been limping for a long while, and it did start before Bad Wolf. I can agree with you there, Tony Farrell. We're in a pickle. Bad Wolf, I don't think, can get us out of it, but they didn't get us into it. I agree there. Britain makes 0 sci-fi fantasy on a regular basis with returnable series except for Doctor Who, says the source. In other words, Joe, because Bad Wolf have made Discovery of Witches and Doctor Who, and there's no other company in Britain that has, the BBC are going to the ones who have done it before.
I think they should open up the net, allow production companies to come in and give comprehensive pitches and see what's out there. I think they're being ridiculous. Really, I do. Yeah. There's plenty of talent out here. You look at our garbage, you can go off and create brilliant little segments like he does. There is talent out here and we need to tap into it.
Well, Joe, is it a little bit like there's a lot of nepotism involved, that they just want to go back to the same people again and again?
Yeah. They should be casting that net, seeing what's out there. Give us your pitches. You're now the showrunner. What are you going to do? And really see what's out there before they just stick to that. I think they're being ridiculous. I really do. Sad.
Well, trying to be fair, Dan, my good mate in Australia, it wasn't dying under Moffat. Stephen Moffat, I think, was a better incidental writer for Doctor Who than he was showrunner. And I will grant him he was stretched because he was doing Sherlock as well. We all know this famous season 7 debacle when it was split in 2. But I have to say, I think the more story Stephen Moffat show ran, it wasn't brilliant. It was a good finish for Capaldi, but which one are you talking about? He left twice. So I know what you're trying to get at, Dan, but I actually do think the demise was set fair. I'm hearing, says my source, that Bad Wolf might stay on for the next series with new showrunners. The question is whether they will be able to work with anyone else on that show other than RTD. So then, Joe, you start to think, well, can they cope with anyone other than... Can they have proper fresh blood, or will it be it's Pete McTighe's turn? It's somebody who's been within the team. That's the thing.
Yeah, it's you know what, the whole management of the BBC obviously needs a bit of an overhaul, and we're not going to move on. We're not going to get anything fresh until they take risks. And risks worked in Doctor Who in the past. Doctor Who, as a show in itself, at the time it came out, was a big risk. They didn't know if it was going to land anywhere and get any interest. It was a huge risk. And a lot of successful IPs were risks because they were just, it's something... and I think for it to be new and to be invigorated, that's exactly the road they need to go down. Bad Wolf could do of course, they can technically film it with the stage. They've got the video cameras, they've got the edit suites, they've got the practical things. So I guess what we're really talking about is the creative people So we need new creative team. Sure, Bad Wolf can make it, but it's the creative.
I mean,
circle jerking's the problem. Like you say,
right. Let's all be really as open as we can here. Right. So in the last 2 series plus the 3 specials, including the last season of Chibnall, which do you think was the strongest Doctor Who story?
Well, this is tough. I can't find one. There's
I mean,
strongest.
I know. I'm trying to be very fair. I've got it on one of my slides tonight, but I might as well say it now. Some people have made the argument, and I can see the merits to a degree, that the better Doctor Who stories in the last 2-3 years were the cheapest ones, like 73 yards.
Okay, yeah.
The ones
the doctorless ones.
Yeah. Well,
ones. Yeah. What does that tell you? And yet they were still terribly flawed because of how they handled the narrative. So even the strongest stories, they could not land successfully.
No, and when we do get onto Disney, the talk about how he set up that first few episodes. Oh my God!
So there's a few kind of hints at enjoyable. I was quite excited. The Rani actress was really good, I thought.
Archie Punjabi.
Sorry, that's my brain catching up with your question from ages ago. If there was a storyline, and no, I think there was a few potential things. I thought, this is interesting, to then fall off a cliff. Like I did like that the Indian lady that played the Rani. I thought she was quite strong. But seeing her flying around in the Flash Gordon scooter and everything, nah.
I mean, I try. I remember doing these reviews with you, Christian. The looks one, there was an element, as in a taste, where I thought, do you know what? If you just took a few other turnings, this could have been all right. We were trapped in a cinema. You could have done something with that. The Well, again, there was a chance. We went down the road about deaf and hearing and the NHS and then, every story is so badly written by RTD at the moment that, as you said, Joe, about, you set a virtue up, then you break it. In The Well, it's disgraceful that our hero, because he stopped to have a neb at the monster, his delay meant that the monster got onto the bloody ship. In other words, the Doctor is the prat that we all don't want. He's useless. He's the one in Rogue who nearly got his companion dead. He's the useless one who got that female leader in The Well. RTD probably thought he was doing some great female liberation here, that she was going to be like Sigourney Weaver. Yeah, but she died because the Doctor was crap.
Yeah.
That's not a good story. It's called Doctor Who.
What Doctor? What the?
Yeah. Oh, because he's nosy. Anyway, on Bad Wolf, their contract is up in 2027, so it makes sense for the BBC to order the special to wrap up the last disastrous era, ready for a fresh start. Now that sounds like, Matthew Burrows might still be interested, but the logistics and everything come into play here. They go into production in February, March-ish for the Christmas special. The challenge they face is that by the time it goes out, the show will have been unwatched by the wider public since Tennant returned. Continue. Then the public see a Christmas special with Piper and Tennant, and she's initially the Doctor. It's such a mess, and will anyone care? Joe, this is the problem, and we were saying a bit of it earlier, that there's just too much to unravel. There's too many things that will trigger the public anyway. I mean, I'm thinking of the British public, the general public, who'll be going, is Doctor Who any good? It's Christmas Day, let's have a little look. And then all of a sudden it's the She-Hulk, and then it says something like she's linked with the TARDIS, or she's turning into... Joe, the most stupid thing to do in the Christmas special is show lots of flashbacks to explain the plot.
Yeah, the general public's lost faith. I was at a Comic-Con a couple of weeks ago. I didn't see a single Doctor, which is bizarre because you're usually wall-to-wall in Tennants and Capaldi's and things. So that was quite telling. When you speak to, like my auntie who is, I was going to say communist muck, but she'd kill me for that. My auntie who's just, your typical auntie, bless her. I love her. She used to watch Doctor Who on and off. She would watch it at Christmas, and she even said to me, "Oh no, it really went downhill, didn't it? I couldn't watch that crap," was her words. So your average blog has lost interest, which is quite telling. And then, how is he going to just give us one standalone to fix that absolute myriad of problems? With a doc, we don't even know who the doctor's going to be, do we? So everything's up in the air and everything's a big mess. And I think RTD might get off on that. I've got the feeling that maybe what his kink or his fetish, because it's a mountain I don't think he can climb.
I think that it's not going to go anywhere, Joe. It's part of the problem that you have is that very few people have watched a lot of the stuff, and now you're going to have what amounts to a 2-year hiatus of the Doctor Who show before the Christmas special comes on, and then you've got to recap everything that went wrong that now has to be fixed. That will simply serve familiar viewers with why they stopped watching in the first place, and won't make any sense to new viewers who are being asked to do homework in order to be prepped for a 1-hour special. The only thing that they've got going for them is the capacity to schedule something before or something after the show so they can kind of catch overlap viewers and then count those as views and say, okay, this is a better viewing figure than we got during the last season of Gatwa's work. But that means nothing because the product won't go anywhere.
Well, we've got disagreement in the thread, which is always a good place to be. It means we've got the right people. Bad Wolf and Sony pay for most of the upfront production costs. Sony will make a financial decision about whether it makes sense to continue. I understand that they've taken a bit of a hit because obviously they expected Doctor Who to do better. Only a bit of a hit. I think Bad Wolf will keep making it because of the logistics, Joe. Plus, they know to deliver premium shows in the fantasy genre. I think it's Discovery Witches. Most production companies won't touch fantasy.
Amazon does. Amazon's loving it, even though they're ballsing up their fantasy quite badly as well. But no, I would disagree with that a little bit.
Yeah, let's get this. As I said to the source, I'll get thumb screws on him, and Cliff Maxwell will be pleased. But yeah, I know, but it's all opinions, and it's interesting to hear from somebody on the inside, isn't it? If the BBC finds a new co-streamer, he says, then the production company could well change, but if they are financing and producing alone as before, I doubt BBC Studios will make it themselves.
That makes sense to me.
I mean, he talks costs and everything, so I'll get to it, everybody, because there's lots to chew on. I've said it many times, Brendan. They don't watch it. They don't like it. They don't understand it. They hate sci-fi fantasy. And they are all looking at the numbers and saying, well, viewership is falling across the board, so nothing to see here. This is the problem, Christian. The media are talking to themselves, going, but all the figures are falling for lots of programs. So actually, I think it's just the fans are being a bit arsey. I'm sorry, but the Traitors in Britain at the moment is getting just under 13 million. So why the hell can't Doctor Who be getting half that?
They have the ability to get those numbers. What they're looking for are any excuses under the sun to explain why what they're doing and how they're handling it is not paying off. We know that this show can be a diamond, blinding in its brilliance, and that you can have upwards of 10 million viewers. And if you do it right over the long haul, you can go up from there. But every approach they take is to tank the product, and they don't want to accept the onus of responsibility for that failure. So they have to parse out the blame to everyone else and say, because everyone else is at fault, that's the only reason we can't do this. They just have no sense of accountability.
And they're not putting the right people in the right chairs. I mean, people, going by what your source says, If they put a person like your source in charge of Doctor who obviously, you know, I think we might be in a better position. I don't know who it is, but there's people in the industry far better suited to be driving this show. And they're not putting them in those positions. So come on.
And it's not about, as new Mimi Plex says, make a cheaper, smarter show. The constraints will force creativity. And actually, that's why I credited those people who said 73 yards maybe and a few others. Because the point is, the horror fan rock will be much cheaper than other shows in that period. It didn't need, you know, you just needed a few little tiny sets. I mean, remember, horror fan rock had those curved sets, hard for a camera in those days, and all you had was a cast of about 6. You were going to kill them all off, and you had a very dodgy effect. I say a dodgy effect. I was very happy with it at the time, but you know what I mean. Great. It was atmospheric. In my Cliffhanger show the other day, we were talking about the beauty of that episode ending when the Doctor realized the enemy was locked in. That is called imagination. Imagination is free. As me and Christian have said in our teaching profession to kids, you can travel the universe there. It's free. You know, and that's a good writer making your imagination just fire up like fireworks. You don't need the budget and the fireworks in front of you.
Good writing, good acting, off we go. And that's what Doctor Who was. Yeah. That's what it was for the longest time. That's what part of the success of it was the good writing, great casting, people we fell in love with. You know, they nailed it.
Absolutely. Well, Joe, can't they scale back and make something successful? I mean, isn't that what they were supposed to do with the Pertwee era? We're going to scale back and we're going to stick him in London, give him a car, and we'll have very grounded adventures. It'll be cheaper to produce, and it certainly paid off.
Yeah, it's like the Street Spider-Man that they're going back to at Marvel. They're putting Spidey back on the street instead of out in space, and maybe that's the way forward for our Doctor too. Is less is more for Doctor.
Well, Matthew Burrows, who is really bothered about some of the news I'm giving, and I understand, says, I only watch Shetland on the BBC. I hate the company. My license runs out about April and I'm not renewing it. I will miss Shetland. Now, I'm putting you up, Matthew, because my next piece is a snippet about the new series, not the Christmas special. So here we go. The source says they will 100% do a new series. They could not get 4 to 5 million pounds signed off during these difficult times to do a Christmas show with no further series. Now, Joe, with your inside knowledge of you know how the media works, and imagining now how difficult it is financially with all the streamers are all fighting each other. Mergers are in the future. Remember our show when we talked about all the mergers that are going to have to happen in the future. It's getting harder. It's getting harder, and everybody knows, and we've got the Deadline article as well, where basically Bob Iger said that they did the merger about Doctor Who and Disney because of the fact that everybody was fighting to grab IPs, weren't they? Because of the streaming competition. That was a regret. But my sources said all the way through this process that you will not get a Christmas special, a silly little TV movie, if it's not to then launch another series. It's not worth it for the BBC to spend that money. So do you think this is it? There is definitely going to have to be a new series for them to have wasted money on just a one-off special.
Yeah, well, the Christmas Day viewers, Christmas Day is a bit of a holy grail for us TV people, because it's the exposure you get on Christmas Day you wouldn't ordinarily get. You've got a much bigger guaranteed viewership than any other day of the year, really. So whatever you're putting on that day, you can, it's things you really want to showboat. It's your best clothes. So it's quite telling they hate Doctor Who, but still willing to put it on the absolute prime day of the year to show it off. I've still got a feeling, though, that because they've still got this sea show to come out, they just feel the train's going to keep going. And, I've got a feeling this Sea Devil show is going to tie into something. I think he's going to connect it in so that it has to keep going. I could be wrong, but it would make sense.
I've got a nasty feeling that the spin-off is actually going to, I forget the intersex alien thing, because that is going to happen, we know, but I feel as though it's actually going to be a much more serious, and yes, there's messaging, but I think it will look like it's a show taking itself seriously. And unfortunately, we all just wanted that from Doctor Who, Christine.
That's what agreed. We wanted that from Doctor Who, but this is where I kind of wonder if they will actually be able to finance something after the Christmas special. We're going to have the spin-off in a few months. And once that airs and we see the gravitas perhaps that was missing from the series itself, maybe that will trigger some interest. But what if the Christmas special does not gender the kind of response that they need? If the parent show, not the spinoff, the parent show is not engendering interest from the audience, they've got to ask themselves, okay, we said we were going to do something. We haven't yet allocated the funds. We were ready to do so. We're not happy with the return that we got. Let's wait a little bit longer and see if we can cobble together something better. I'm not sure that they'll follow through. That may be the intent. I'm not sure they have the capacity to follow through on.
The BBC are fighting money-wise. They know, as Matthew Burrows is saying, there's many people refusing, to pay the license fee. It's going down and down and down. They know that their negotiation over the next renewal is probably going to have to force a bit of subscription and a hybrid model. This is the start of the end for the BBC. They can't afford to just say, yeah, spend 5 million on a shitty, crappy non-event of a Doctor Who series with a She-Hulk at the start and a right mess of a plot. Why would they do that? They don't even get the ratings anymore with Doctor Who. Joy to the World, as you know, got absolutely trounced by Wallace and Gromit. Absolutely trounced.
Yeah,
and
so it should.
And Strictly Come Dancing had led into it. Remember, I did my special on the ratings, and it was Doctor Who that was the weakest link. And sorry, why then spend another 5 million on your weakest link on Christmas Day? As Joe said, this is your moment to shine. Not to say, here's all our wounded. It's not an animal hospital for TV programs, this, Fergal here, thank you very much. I am legitimately asking, does anyone actually have any desire to watch the spin-off? I know I don't, but I'm wondering, is anyone looking forward to it? I'm going to say thank you now for that, and then I'll ask my panel about that very question. But as you know, manners maketh the man, as they say. So we do have super chats available, as Fergal has just exercised his right. Oh, no. That's why we need the money. Switchboard gone. So, Christian, what are your thoughts on what Fergal said?
I'm not sure I'm interested. I'll probably watch it if it's being reviewed. But other than that, I don't have a personal interest in seeing it. And I prefer, the gravitas that it suggests it's going to present. Because unfortunately, I've been trained to expect the worst. I would expect to see it and be disappointed by it. And I don't want to be disappointed. Maybe I'm being unfair, but that's my feeling.
Joe?
I don't like to have a Doctor Who spin-off when I don't have a doctor. I feel a bit unnerved by that. I also don't have a connective tissue, so it's not like Missy's going to show up or a companion, so I have no connective tissue to go and watch it. All I know is I like Russell Tovey as an actor. I actually think he's really good, and I think he might have been a good doctor actually in another universe. So purely out of, I don't know, there's not a lot of great TV shows on, so of course I'll give it a shot, but I'm not looking forward to it particularly. No, not without a doctor or anyone to look forward to.
Now that's on this Christmas, as they announced. It's over this Christmas period, so that should guarantee more interest. We're all captive at home in the very cold British climate. Pikehead though is reminding us that Joy to the World made me physically sick. Well, I have to say, it was like Astrid Peth again, made into a star. And we had this Derry girl suddenly made into a big, enormous, gaseous star, I think is the way. And the Star of Bethlehem mix up. Whoa, don't go there, come on. Dear God. In this world we're in, it seems to be the Christian religion. You can just have an absolute pot shot at it. Quite rightly, healthily, I agree with that. But then you have to be allowed to do it to all, and that's not quite the game. So therefore, I say back off doing silly games with the Christian faith as well. Let's just back off. Let's back off. It stops the toxicity as well. And I don't know, there's something about it, let's have another cheeky jibe at the Christian faith. Let's have another cheeky jibe. The Derry girls.
Too many jibes. They're even jiving. They're jiving at marriage when the doctor paired up with his companion, and the hell realm was like a happy 1950s type world. Like you say, picking up on it, they've really poked at a lot of things that people. He's really having a jive at the common person and the majority, and it's horribly done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Rose Kirby, I'm a sick person. Yes, I will be reviewing it. And I've got Disparu. I'm saying it now. Disparu, when he last came on, and Christian and Joe know that one very well. And I wrote to him recently because obviously we appeared after 8 minutes and 1 second for 1 second. A clip in his amazingly talented edited piece on Doctor Who. And I wrote to him and thanked him, obviously, manners. But he did say to me earlier when he'd been on that show that he would come back to help us with the review of the spin-off. So, yes, we will be there, Rose Kirby. Don't you worry. Yes. And I'll be very grateful to have these two alongside me. RTD is coming back to rub all our noses in it and is grinning, I bet, non-stop from day it was announced this week till Christmas Day 2026. Someone passed the bucket full of eggnog. Both are yuck. What can we do, Jason? Some people just never get told the truth and swan around thinking they're great. Nigel Walker agrees with you that Russell Tovey would have made a good doctor. Yep. I agree. Right, we keep moving. So basically, 100% definitely a new series. They wouldn't do the Christmas special without it. No one is signing that off under any circumstances. That's a Christmas special, unless there is a mandate to close the era off for potential streamers and to close the era off for potential streamers. I've written that twice. I did a lot of slides today, and not have the Piper stunt hanging over them. So there's obviously method to this madness, Joe. That they wouldn't rubber stamp this amount of money on a one episode weakest link for Christmas Day if there wasn't a strategy to link it to a series, to relaunch with a new writer, a new showrunner, and he's got ideas.
They've got a year though, right? I mean, I guess they're thinking, look, we've got a bit of time here. Within that time, things might get resolved and cleaned up. I guess that's how they're looking at it.
The thing is, Joe, we're November. He said filming will start March. Now, we don't want another RTD script done lastminute.com again. We know what those are like. I mean, God, is there enough time to write a decent blooming script that would sort it all out? I don't want the Daleks, Susan, Mrs. Flood, the Rani, Sutek, Sutek wakes up and does another blooming turd on the TARDIS. I mean, I don't want the sledgehammer TARDIS suddenly to disappear.
And the little girl. Remember Poppy? I was wondering, did they ever explain why Poppy showed up at the barber shop?
Because Poppy needed a haircut. Poppy. Oh no.
Well, it's just yet another random thread. But I'm still trying to figure out why Poppy showed up at the barber shop. So if anyone would like to write to me and tell me, put it on a postcard, please?
Because
Anybody?
Poppy is a refugee and she was picked up from that world and taken to England and then treated very shabbily by nasty people. Poppy! Poppy! Yeah, I know. The good old return of Poppy. I can't cope with that now. You've really made me ill now, Joe. That is out of order. That is
Oh my
sin bin for you.
Just a minute. I saw that clip. The return of Poppy. Is this going to be like the search for Spock? Okay, we're going to bring the whole story in. It's all going to be about Poppy. It's not even going to be about solving.
Look, this show could have ended up going on for 5 hours, and I'm trying to respect the people who are watching us, but we know that Carol Ann Ford spoke in Australia, and we know that Carol Ann Ford and the cut scene, and remember what was mentioned, that Popper might have been her mum.
God.
Poppy, the little Poppy, who's sorry, I know she's a child, but I'm sorry, I'm still going to say the same thing. No personality, no character development, but Popper is one of the most important characters in the Doctor Who history. No, stop it. No, just no. I'm not allowing it. Yeah. So the best way would be to get Rob Sheeman, Toby Whitehouse, or another good writer in to clean it all up. So says the source.
Mm-hmm.
We have agreement there, yeah? Although, I mean, Toby Whitehouse did The Wake in the Dead, for example. He left kind of Doctor Who, did School Reunion, and before you knew it, he had his own series, show ran it, did brilliantly. He knows what to do. So that's a possibility. Peter McTighe has not produced or showrun a major blue chip drama. That would be a risk, Brendan. But have any good decisions been taken since Peter Capaldi left? We are so far away from home that in the end, it probably is going to be Pete McTighe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's depressing as hell. Let me just throw this at you. He also said it was a terrible decision. He went straight from sex ed to Who, no time to think or consider the role. He just didn't have the experience. He was miscast. We're just having a puppet shooty there.
He's right, though.
Absolutely true.
It was the same character. I don't think he did any change, really. I don't see any change.
No, just no, didn't work. So I then said to him, I said, who would you, as a media producer, Joe's obviously backed you as a possible new showrunner, who would you cast as Doctor Who? And he said,
Timothy Chalamet.
Oh, we want a Brit, don't we? We want a English lad.
Yeah, I mean,
but he looks good. The looks right, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, he can act. I mean, you know, he can act. It is important in these times. I don't know. I don't think he's necessarily he's not on a tick list, really, is he? Yes, he's not British, but do you know what? It's like, God, thank you, by the way, David Frame. I will do a cliffhangers from you to thank you. But yeah, Timothy, it's interesting, isn't it? Because you know, in all this chat, Christine, I thought, well, who would you cast? And there you go. He serves it on a plate, something I'd never thought of.
And well, it makes sense. I mean, if we're talking about precedent having been set, we've now had the precedent that you can have a female doctor. Okay. We've now have the precedent that you don't have an actual English person playing the role, but a Rwandan, and they've done that. So if they're willing to make those changes, really virtually nothing's off the table.
Unknowns, I think, are work. Matt Smith was an absolute banger. You know, I think Matt Smith's an example of it done right. And I think it's good when it's an unknown, because then we can, you know, we can identify the Doctor, this new face we've never seen before, and really lose ourselves in this actor as the Doctor. That's why I like unknowns, to be honest.
And you know, the beauty of it, Joe, is this. I think this is why David Tennant's stars diminished as well. Never mind being seen a lot. It's because we know a bit more about their politics, and it just ruins it.
It ruins it, yeah.
That's all. And Matt Smith, we knew nothing, and so I get your point, but I want to make sure I say thank you to David Frame. So David Frame, I hope you like the Brigadier. Here we go.
One of the doctor's gadgets?
We don't want to miss the TARDIS, do we? The wounded thing in the capsule. Maybe it isn't the doctor after all.
Tegan is absolutely right.
Ian, come on.
Doctor, you're better.
Natural regeneration. Life without end or form. Mordrin.
Quickly, we've got to take off. That man, I don't think he's the doctor. But he...
Doctor!
You're not the doctor.
You travel.
Doctor, that's him.
Welcome to my ship, Time Lord. I am Mordrin.
When did you last have the pleasure of eating a well-prepared meal?
Sorry, all these are garbage. Who give him a subscription? He's a good lad. So I've got to say thank you to Fergal as well. He just wants to be on the money. Another nitpick in the series 1 finale. 15 says he doesn't have children yet. How can he have a child and a granddaughter if he's infertile? I know, and we've been saying tonight about these inconsistencies that don't last even a story. It's ridiculous, isn't it? Good call out, Fergal. I'll thank you. Nonetheless, what's left? Oh, me in the face of Bo. We got it off once.
Hello.
Oh, just to hear a Dalek voice doing Dalek things, you know, God, it just gets me going.
Right.
It just gets me going. So, just as we kind of pull things together a bit, because I will do another show, of course we will. But Joe and Christian, you saw the Deadline article. A lot of streamers are talking about it. A lot of the YouTubers are talking about it. I wanted to get my source material out first because that's exclusive to the Sensesphere. But there was a lot of things said here. I didn't agree with everything that was said. The MAGA bit I thought was interesting, but only interesting as a comment. You know, they're worried about the Trump era in America and Disney might want to pull back.
It was failing before that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I wasn't into that point. I was interested, though, Christian, in this argument here. It's in the second paragraph, and it said, what was conceived as a plan to marvelize the franchise did not translate into a big bang. Do you know what? We were saying this, weren't we, at the very beginning? Even when I was hopeful about RTD, I was saying, I really don't want them to do a kind of Marvel Universe thing. I don't want them to think of every character like the Rani and everybody in Sutek as little kind of gadgets. But they did. They had been thinking that.
Yeah, that's what RTD went in. I think he went in and said, like, let's... you could see it. You could see it was so obvious what he was trying to do, and I think he sold them on that.
Yeah, he sold them on that, and it wasn't something that was going to work. A spin-off series works if a character is crafted that is powerfully compelling, and there's a format that you can utilize to move them on to their own show. That only works if the parent show is successful, and if a character that you bring in is so well crafted and so well received, it's like a breakout star, and you're kind of compelled then to pursue it because there's some potential there. But to say, oh gosh, we can have 5 different spin-offs with 5 different characters, all of which, hey, by the way, we can push 5 different agendas at the same time on each of these individual shows. Wow, what a wonderful thing that would be. No. That doesn't work.
And it's been all written in such haste that it's become sloppy. So in other words, it's inconsistent. Yep. And no matter what Dana Walden has found out from all her sources for the Deadline article, can I just say here and now that when I did my big Disney show and my source said you were on the money, Brendan, can I just say, honestly, Disney were out almost at the very beginning, and Dana Walden does actually verify that too. They were shocked at the fact that it wasn't a hard reboot after the specials. They were shocked at the tonal inconsistency. they were shocked, very like you were saying, Joe. 1 minute it's a musical, the next minute there's a tap dance, the next minute there's a Goblin King. They didn't know what the hell they'd got. And then on top of that, we started with Space Babies, Devil's Cord. He sold them an absolute dud at the very beginning, and by then they were out.
Do you think as well, Ruby, because I got the impression that we got new Doctor Shooty and we got this lovely little blonde girl for the dads, you know. And I thought she was going to be like the mega companion. It's like something went wrong. And she got kicked out and, you know, like for a more DEI companion. Something went wrong there, I think, as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like it wasn't all... I think a lot of things were going wrong all over the place in the background, and he was compensating because it kind of shows up that way.
Well, Joe, there's a show I've got to do once I've accumulated and synthesized everything about the behind the scenes and the stories behind the story. And they repeat really what happened in the Eccleston era. They kind of repeat again. And Millie Gibson and all, there's so much to tell. It's just that, you know, but yeah, because otherwise it makes no sense. Why do this big arc for Ruby Sunday and then suddenly she's gone?
She was really promoted heavily as well, marketing wise. She was really up there, you know, like as a real strong character. So I was very shocked when she, even the storyline looks like it was built for her as well when you really look at it. But I'd love to know more about that.
Yeah. Well, I will certainly do that. Now, Christian, on your side of the pond, when you read about, you know, that in Disney apparently was saying they weren't in Doctor Who for the long term, that they hastily regretted the co-streaming arrangement with the BBC. So says there Bob Iger. That they did it under duress in the fact that there was competition out there and they were all grabbing IPs like crazy. And then he also, they were discussing with the sources that the response all the way through from Disney about Doctor Who was quite muted, that they weren't really fully into the project. Does that carry across to you in America?
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. There was no sense that Disney was really behind it here. Usually you have a sense of how big a property is based on how well it's marketed. Do you see a lot of banners? Do you see a lot of ads? Do you see a lot of promotion? And there was a brief flurry just at the start, and then it evaporated. There was nothing. And, you know, when you would see that there would be an event happening in Los Angeles and they don't send a representative and they're right down the road from a convention or any other event going on and there's nothing, there was no energy there. What I do think what probably happened behind closed doors is they assumed, oh, Doctor Who was big in 2012. It will be big again. We just have to throw money at it and trust that it'll be done. Then they had a taste of what they saw in the first episode and they realized, oh, this is not going to go over well. And at that point, they were more or less mentally checked out. They tried to reach out after that. We're not heard. We're not receiving anything. And that just convinced them to say, okay, we're not going to say anything right now. We're going to air the episodes. We've got the contract. We've already got Bluey, so that's done. And we'll just ride this horse until it's time to let everyone know that we're walking. But they have been out on this and unengaged almost from the beginning.
Yeah, because they could have really promoted it, and we saw none of that from Disney. We saw no pimping like they usually do, didn't we?
That's right. That's right.
And maybe they just didn't know what they were getting. They thought, how the hell? I mean, there's one thing buying into the product, and then when you see the product, you're going, but how do we sell this? Which demographic? What's the vibe? What's the pitch? What's the unique selling point? Which direction do we go in? You could have the best marketing team in the world, but if there's a myriad of different things going on, and I think the biggest indictment from Disney was when they said it had tonal inconsistency. And that falls into the trap that RTD thinks is Doctor Who's selling point, which is Doctor Who can be comedy, musical, serious. No, it can't. Doctor Who needs to be Doctor Who. Doctor Who has a very interesting, flexible format, but it's not completely pliable. It's not, Mr. Elastic. I'm sorry, but you went too far, RTD. And Joe, he needed surely to get it to brass tacks, like you said, scaring the kids. Jeopardy, taking itself seriously, giving predictable format to the parents and the kids to fall back into line again. Bit like the Traitors, 13 million an episode. Give the people what they want and stop telling us what we want.
Well, you just hit the nail on the head. They couldn't sell it as a family show because RTD turned it into a LGBTQ pride parade of a show. You can't sell it to Granny. Who's this doctor? We've got a black doctor, which is fine. A black lead is actually, you can market that. There's not many shows with a black lead, so you could turn that into a positive. The black lead's gay. We're already going to lose some people, unfortunately, because of that, as it is in some climates. So they couldn't, there was so many components of it that they couldn't package into a family show to sell to everybody. It was very compartmentalized. You were going to turn off people. If you went into the specifics of the show, you were going to drive away people here and there, which was a problem to market. So instead of a show for, that the kids can come and watch with gran and granddad, now it's just the teenagers, the LGBTQ teenagers that really were being targeted. And I think he said that's who he wanted, didn't he? He didn't want families.
Yeah, the only sop to us dinosaurs. Sorry, this is me. I'm talking about. To us dinosaurs is he is Sutek, and I'm sorry, but I was almost kind of well, that's not my Sutek. Sorry, I'll give you Omega. That's not my Omega. So the sops to the dinosaur Doctor Who fans were not sops at all. He'd completely butchered it. So in other words, the dinosaurs were going, but okay, I don't recognize Doctor Who, and that's not Sutek, that's not Omega, that's not the Rani. What are you doing? And then he's in trouble because the other demographics were all over the place. And as you know, Disney, with all their resources, were going, hold on a minute. It's not getting enough of the youngsters. It's not getting enough of the teenagers. It's not getting enough of the 20 to 30s. It's not getting enough of the only demographic that it was pleasing a bit more was the 54 plus. But unfortunately, that's not who they wanted.
No.
And why no Daleks? I mean, that was something that they've got oodles of content with. I can't recall why they didn't use Cybermen or Daleks. Did you just feel they were overused, or why did we get none of that?
Overused. We'd have had sex. We'd have had a Dalek, a Cyberman, half Cyberman, and the woman going, "Oh, I quite like this." No. I mean, I know what you mean. I want my Doctor Who, but I wouldn't want RTD2's version of Doctor Who, where basically that sink plunger could do many things. No.
The Nazi Stasi Davros without his Oh my goodness.
No.
Oh my goodness.
Joe, I think you're wobbling, Joe. I just need to remind you of this. Hold on.
Now the news is in, and we learn of a Christmas special penned by Russell T Davies. What can we expect? More of the same messaging against Trump and Farage and anyone on the right, using Doctor Who as his own personal political platform. Will we be overwhelmed with more DEI and inclusivity agendas? Crazy storylines and character arcs? What classic monster or villain will he ambush and vandalize next? Stick with the Sense Sphere to experience the next stormy waters for Doctor Who. Let's see what he serves up next. Dog's bollocks, or more like a dog's breakfast. Whatever happens, the Who pets welcome you on board.
So sorry, Joe. You're on a warning now. I mean, yes, Davros walking. If you get the Daleks back, he's going to have Davros, and Davros is going to have legs, and then I'm going to have a problem.
Well, he didn't have the ability to bring back any of the classic characters without retooling them to serve some agenda of some kind. And I don't trust him to bring back anything without damaging it at this point.
Exactly. And so, you know, when we looked at this Deadline article, you know, they talked about that it was a ratings flop. Disney was cold on Doctor Who. I don't think they understood what they had in front of them. I have to say, Tony Jordan of the Doctor Who Appreciation Society, I'm not too convinced by this. He said they've clearly sat down and made a decision in the past week or so. Tony, no. They made the decision after Space Babies. And then he said, there are some strong episodes in both Gatwa's seasons. I've just asked Christian and Joe, and they were looking at me like I'd said something in a funny language. But the two-part finales were not particularly well regarded. A lack of episodes made it difficult for audiences to get to know Ncuti and his companions to really develop the storylines. Well, there's truth there as well, isn't there, Joe? Which is, these short seasons don't work, especially with some Dr. Light, especially when he changes his outfits every 3 moments in each episode. I don't feel as though I knew what every other Doctor, even the 14th Doctor, I know he's got mental issues. Every other Doctor, I feel as I understand. I don't understand the 15th Doctor, and neither do I care.
Neither does he. The Doctor can't even sort his wardrobe out. We got Millie. I mean, we didn't get to know the companions either. They were way more focused on Ruby having a single black mum and living with her granny, and those, rather than getting to know her, it was, you know what I mean? Like, we didn't really get long enough with her, and I liked her and I wanted to see more of her. Same with the Doctor. You're absolutely right. You know, when we think of Tennant, he's running around, he's this kind of savvy we've got the Matt Smith Doctor with his flappy hands. Every Doctor's got his aura and energy, and Ncuti doesn't have one.
No. I mean, Christian, the arguments here, I mean, I saw it in the thread, but here we go. Others point out that some of Davies' cheaper episodes were his best. Season 14, 73 Yards, which was praised by critics and Whovians. Yeah, the first 20 minutes. Budget limitations used to help the idiosyncrasies of the show. The trouble is, for the first 20 minutes that were atmospheric in 73 Yards, we then got the attack on a politician of the right.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And that doesn't help matters. I do think that a cheaper episode does force innovation, and you can actually do some brilliant writing because you're actually focused in that moment to ratchet up tension and to develop characterization, because it's not spectacle. It's the conflict between characters on screen in a very condensed setting that can make for a very intense storytelling. But you've got to be able to land that kind of an episode. So the irony,
yeah. Because Capaldi would do a scene that would leave you like, you know, that doesn't cost money. That's just acting. He's not capable of giving us a ball-busting Doctor speech. That doesn't even have budget. He doesn't have the ability to give us a really magnificent Doctor scene. Sorry for jumping in there, Christian.
No, that's fair. That's fair. That's very true.
Now, the other part of the Deadline article was all about, because Disney had not given it the hard sell, and the argument here is that Disney was indifferent to Doctor Who, therefore it hasn't really cut through in America, therefore streamers from America might still be interested in buying into Doctor Who because it isn't as toxic as we think it is, because nobody knew it was out. I think there's a twisted logic in that. I'm not too convinced by that. I think it was clearly out there. It was clearly tanking out there. It was, and I think it's one of those things. If you're going to do I mean, Joe, you know this in the media profession. If you're going to do a very soft, poor launch, you might as well delay and try and make that launch better than have a soft, poor launch, because after that you've lost that momentum. Am I right, Joe?
Well, this was an interesting study in launching a program, because the American market and the British market are very different. and the American relationship with Doctor Who is very different to the British relationship. So they actually had a bit of an unusual situation, excuse me, in trying to present this new Doctor, because he's a 60-year-old character. They're still thinking of Tennant and Capaldi at the peak. They changed the Doctor, so they can't basically say, look, we've got a show about a madman in a box going through time and space. They couldn't just give it that, because it isn't really that anymore. So RTD didn't have a fully fleshed out Doctor really to sell. So what were they going to? It was an almost impossible task if you think about it.
Yeah, I'm lost. I am. There's a point when I just get lost on all this. I just think it was a weak launch in America. It fell flat in England so quickly because of the first few episodes. What did he think doing Space Babe? Well, Star Beast, the pronouns debate might have only been a scene or two, but then add to that the sonic screwdriver making all these force fields. I could go on, and I just think, no, this was not the place to start. We did Star Beast because RTD came back without any IDs and he had to copy a comic strip. He then decided that one special needed to be filled with Nout called Wild Blue Yonder. And so we had a whole episode of nothing. And then we had the third episode when we had to do a mad dash again and get Spice Girls involved. Ambush Classic Who with the Celestial Toy Maker. Hush my mouth, get rid of Celestial. And then do all this garbage, slagging
like
off the
Mavity.
Oh,
Stupid crap like Mavity, race swapping Isaac Newton. If they just took, see, if you take out all those, Rose correcting the Doctor about pronouns, and if you took all that crap out, we might have had a bit of a better show.
Yeah, exactly. Far
Well,
Sight.
I was about to say, he needed not to have 8 episodes a season. He needed to probably have one full story for the 3-episode special anniversary, and then 2 stories apiece, 4 episodes each, or 4 chapters each, because with these uber shortened episodes and a Doctor that has no profile, it's a nightmare to compose a quality element, a quality profile, a quality tone that's consistent. But if he had narrowed it down to a handful of good stories and actually enlisted some aid so that the stories were quality stories, maybe he could have had something.
Yeah,
the first episode being babies, a bogey monster. That's maybe why Disney went, babies, a bogey monster. What? Like, I can see why Disney in the first episode went, oh, come on.
And then Disney didn't. Well, I'm saying Disney. I could just say the word me. None of us understood, including Disney, why when you do a Beatles episode, you didn't include any Beatles music.
Yeah.
It didn't make any sense. It's stupid. It's like if we can't afford the copyright, just don't do it.
Yeah.
Just don't do it. Don't ask Murray Gold to write another one. I have to say I like Murray Gold, but he can be overstretched like everybody can.
Yeah.
He did, as somebody said in a thread, he did a son in Daleks in Manhattan. He did a son in one of the Christmas specials, and he can do it. He did that amazing is Catherine Jenkins one, that song in the Christmas special for Stephen Moffat.
Oh yeah,
a beautiful 4 minutes of music.
I
didn't like the story, but shall we just, if you're going to do a Beatles episode without Beatles music, that sounds a bit stupid or weak or amateur or crap. Let's not. So Farsight, and I agree with you, Farsight. Ghostlight was made on a cheap. It looked great. I'm for it. I'm not. Do you know? I'm not sniffy about this Doctor Who running down corridors. Like, the media got sniffy when RTD came through in 2000. I said Doctor Who was always running down corridors, and hey, they're running down corridors because there's something behind them shooting them called a Dalek. I quite like that. you know, back off on running down corridors. I'm happy. And then Fergal, of course. I watched Space Babies on TV, and my roommate walked in and stared at me as if to say, "What the F are you watching?" I didn't have an answer. Fergal, you know that is the worst thing. I think that's tantamount to your dad walking in your bedroom when you were 16.
Yeah. Well, hey, I tell you what, and here's the big question. How many of us love sharing something that we know is brilliant with someone who's not seen it before, right?
Mhm.
Now picture yourself saying, okay, I'm going to introduce this friend of mine who's never seen Doctor Who, and I'm going to start them with Space Babies.
I mean, I don't know if it was
the end of the friendship.
Was it a declaration of intent to just say, I'm just going to shaft the series? Honestly, Robots of Death, Underworld, go through your eras of Doctor Who, Aztecs, the lot. No writer surely thought, I'm just going to take P, like Space Babies took the P. Devil's Cord, tell me what the story was, because in essence, you had this hocus pocus god called the Maestro, who did a little bit of Scooby-Doo stuff with some bloody musical chords. And the Doctor was trapped in a drum. The Doctor had lost. The Doctor was bloody useless again, and was only saved because a John Lennon remembered one of the chords. What the hell? That's not a story. That's
Maestro was sold to us by RT. I remember it. He was sold to us as the biggest, worst enemy the Doctor's ever faced. Do you know that?
Yeah, yeah.
He told us that barefaced.
Yeah.
Why? There was.
Right.
I mean, we should take him to court for that alone. It was bonkers. No, sorry.
His judgment. Which story where the Daleks are, my judgment is impaired, I cannot see, and all of it, you know, the RTD's judgment is impaired. He cannot write Doctor Who. Take him out the equation. You know, Daleks, when they see a weakness in another Dalek, like Planet of the Daleks, they shoot them dead. I think what we need to do is RTD needs sacking. Sorry. Your judgment is impaired. You do not see Doctor Who. You just see what you want Doctor Who to be. End of. Now, we've just gone round and we've tried our best. I'll be back on, everybody. I'll probably do a news bite. But Christian needs his rest. Jo needs her rest. I've used their time up. They've given me great guns and great ideas tonight. And I thank you both for that. Have you got any parting comments, Christian?
Lord help us if they decide they're going to continue after the Christmas special with more of the same.
I know. It is frightening. I mean, Jo, what your parting thoughts on all this?
I would like to tell or ask fans or anyone who's contact the BBC, send them a tweet, send them a message. Please tell them this is your show. I mean, for Britain, we're paying for it. Let them know. I think we need to be more seen and more listened to. So I would say to you guys, get on their backs, contact them, tell them.
Yep. And because John Yulden's arrived, we're going to end the show. No, sorry, John. I mean, just being you arrived. Sorry, he's been doing his own other show as well. But Garbage Who, I need to call out Garbage Who. Garbage Who, all those clips tonight. I ask for little bits and bobs, and he's getting better and better at sending them. He does now songs for each 2.5 minute songs for Peter Davison and all the Doctors. Loads to see on Garbage Who AI channel, and obviously I get the benefit of some of them, like that sci-fi tonight. That was a beautiful little bit of animation. Thank you very much, Garbage Who. Hopefully your subscriptions goes over 200 tonight. Thank you, Jo. I love having you on. I know your time is busy and I appreciate you coming on. Thank you very much, my friend. Same to you, Christian, because I know this has been a busy week. So thank you both. You've been great pals, and I know people appreciate you coming on. So thank you both. I think it's time we killed a Who pet. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
RTD wants Sensphere shut down. pets have had the last hand up them. Time to die. This is giving me the creeps. This never happened on Finger Bobs. One by one, they're all mine. They don't like it up 'em. All this walking, I wish I had my Benidorm motor scooter. I have it!